Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes so sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade. Sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculousness that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proceed, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Good evening and welcome to Melanie After Dark. Today is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. And I'm going to have to break it all down today. We're going to have to break it all down today. And to my fellow deadheads in the chat, I'm still in mourning over the loss this Saturday of Grateful Dead rhythm guitarist Bob Weir. Died of 78, at the age of 78. Of throat cancer, which was a pretty secret battle that apparently he was only diagnosed with in July. Played the last shows that he would ever play in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. I think they were in September. And it's a rough one. It is a rough one. I was just in the supermarket and I had my hat on, and it's a talking point for everyone. Talking point for everyone. And if you know, you know. If you know, you know. But tonight, we are going to be here to debrief some of the things that have been happening in the Karen Read case. We're going to talk about, well, the breaking news from yesterday afternoon that we haven't talked about yet, and that is that Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey has announced that he will not run again. He will not run again. He's been the district attorney in Norfolk County since, yeah, you heard me, I said it, Norfolk County since 2010. He's a lifelong politician. And if there's one thing, I mean, Karen Read has done a lot for Massachusetts, but if there's one thing that Karen Read has done and her case, and all of us that have been exposing the corruption in Massachusetts and covering the case meticulously for years, is that perhaps, just perhaps, the world is watching now and the corruption, I don't know if it'll ever stop, but it will certainly maybe come to a slow roll. Maybe the roll will slow. I don't know. You tell me. But was it surprise? I guess we thought Michael Morrissey wasn't going to run again, especially after Adam Deitch announced his intention to run. There is a statement from David Yannetti about Michael Morrissey stepping down, and there is a statement from Alan Jackson. I have both of those. I want to talk about Stephanie Sue's interview with Karen. She nabbed the first interview with Karen Read, and good on her. Stephanie Sue is she's a Gen Z podcaster. That's what she is. She's a Gen Z podcaster with 6.6 million subs on YouTube. And it premiered yesterday, the video version. I don't know how many views it has so far, but the audio came out on Sunday, and I listened to it. The first half of it anyway, dropped on Sunday, and I listened to it, and then I watched the whole thing in its entirety. I think it was yesterday that the days are all blending together, you guys. The days are all blending together. And she does her homework, and she gets a lot of views. And also, what I think is so great about doing the first interview on Rotten Mango, that's the YouTube channel, is that A new generation will become involved in the Karen Reed trial saga. And a new generation will be interested in it. And I've been covering the Karen Reed case since January of 2024. So it's 2 years right about now. Yeah, right about now, because I think my first appearance on Court TV was right around June 6th or 7th of 2024. So it's 2 years. And I remember, because my kids who are in the teenagers, late teenagers, Rotten Mango started covering Karen Reed. And so my kids, or one of them specifically, said to me, wait a second, is the Karen Reed case that you're covering the same one that's on Rotten Mango right now? I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's the one. Well, I'm not talking about what she is. I'm talking about what Sirius XM brands her as, a Gen Z hit. That's what they brand her as. Let's not get technical. But my kids became interested in Karen Reed when Rotten Mango started covering it, and now they are interested in justice. And if it gets a whole new demographic involved in talking about the Karen Reed case, how could anybody be mad about it? How can anybody be mad about it? It's exciting. It's exciting. All right, first up, let's take a look at the breaking news on Michael Morrissey. Oh, and then we're going to talk about the Lifetime movie, because we have not had a chance to break that down yet. So if you don't want spoilers, then maybe you want to come back another time if you plan on watching it, because I'm going to spoil everything. I'm spoiling everything. Karen Reed is telling us everything, and I'm spoiling it. And we're not going to play the Rotten Mango podcast. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all of the things that Karen talked about, and all of her trauma, and all of the interesting questions that she was asked by Stephanie, and all of the things that we learned from watching Karen Reed's interview, because it's the first time she's been able to speak freely. It's the first time that she's been able to speak freely, and I'm here for it. But I'm not just going to replay the Rotten Mango podcast and commentate on it, because first of all, I don't swipe other people's content, and second of all, that's lazy. Okay, here's the breaking news from yesterday of Michael Morrissey announcing that he's not going to run again. Here you go. If you haven't seen it, here it is.
Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey says that he will not run for re-election. He just sent a statement within the last 10 minutes saying, and I'm quoting here, "The time is right for me to start a new chapter in my life." And among the cases he has brought forward, the 2 criminal trials against...
A new chapter in his life, like what? One that doesn't involve corruption, or one that doesn't involve living off on the public dole, living off the public dime? A new chapter, really? Can't wait to see what the new chapter is. Is he going to write a book?
Karen Reed, when he has been largely absent from the public eye. Morrissey has spent 15 years as DA. Voters will now choose a new one coming this November.
Okay, so he's been DA since 2010. He has run unopposed every single time. I just want to make sure this is on the right speed, because it feels like it was fast, right? That was, I think, WCVB, and now this is the breaking news from Boston 10. Also, hopefully jail. Somebody said hopefully jail. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Breaking news.
We have some breaking news just into our newsroom. Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey just announced he will not run for re-election in November.
Aww.
Morrissey has been the DA for Norfolk County for more than a decade. He recently was at the center of the controversy for the prosecution of Karen Reed. Now, in an email announcing his decision, Morrissey said he is proud of the work he's accomplished and the time is right to start a new chapter. We're going to continue to follow this one.
Now,
The time is right to start a new chapter. Wow. Hold on a second.
Good evening, Ben. Yes, this podcast lasts for nearly...
Wait a minute. Did they take David Yannetti's video down? Because I had everything queued up. I was so prepared tonight. I had everything queued up for you. Hold on a minute. Because the one that was supposed to play after that was David Yannetti's
I'm declaring a
reaction. So hang one second while I see if they took that down. Because that's weird. But
I'm declaring.
Here it is. All right. So here's David Yannetti's reaction. This was from WCVB 18 hours ago. Here we go. Oh, please. Oh, please.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
The mistrial
Not guilty.
and then the acquittal of Karen Reed when prosecutors decided to try her again galvanized her supporters who say she never should have been charged with murder in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. District Attorney Michael Morrissey faced backlash for spending millions to retry the case despite a heavily scrutinized police investigation.
A fish rots from the head down. The district attorney's office, the actual district attorney, is responsible for everybody who works under him.
David Yannetti represented Karen Reed. He questions the motivation to try Reed a second time.
I think that also gave the impression that this was more of a vendetta than a prosecution.
Morrissey stayed silent after Reed's acquittal, but did.
Yeah, more of a vendetta than a prosecution. Absolutely. Praise be. David Yannetti. Hear that again. Let's hear that again. I mean, first of all, watching that back, David wiping away his tears, which they don't show in this clip after the verdict was read, but they did show, Rotten Mango did show it on her podcast, I think, because that's where I saw it last, because I was watching it again today with my daughter. Him wiping away his tears after the verdict was read. I will never not cry watching that. New chapter. Yeah. Let's just take it back to here because this shot, let me move this out of the way. Of the four of them waiting on pins and needles, Alan Jackson, Karen Reed, and that beautiful powder blue, I think that's a Veronica Beard suit. David Yannetti with his hands crossed in front of him like he's praying with his eyes closed. And Bob Alessi. I mean, doesn't it just choke you up? It chokes me up every single time. The pins and needles that she felt waiting on that verdict and then coming in and being told, oh, the jury had a verdict, but yeah, no, they really didn't. They really didn't have a verdict. So you're going to have to wait and then don't go far. And I was on and Mark Betterow was on with me live and we were like, what the hell just happened? And we waited a little while and then they came back in with the verdict and then they read this verdict and I will never not cry. And also I want you to look at here. If you did watch the Lifetime movie, look at this with me. Okay. Look at the impeccable, the sartorial splendor of Karen Reed's attorneys. Okay. The spread collars. Nobody's got a button on their collar, right? The way their ties are tied, the neckties. That is one thing that really bothered me about the Lifetime movie is the way that nobody on that wardrobe, there was probably one person on the wardrobe team, who am I kidding, knew how to tie a necktie apparently, because look at their ties, look at their impeccable tailoring, Alan Jackson's pocket square. I mean, everything is just impeccable the way these men dress. And that was one of the things that bothered me the most about the Lifetime movie. I know. I'm so picky, but it really did. Because they got Karen's wardrobe pretty much right. They got almost every Veronica Beard suit that she wore, and that dress that she wore in the end was the same dress that I think was in the Vanity Fair shoot. And these three men, my God, the way they love Karen, the way they just, did all that they could. Bob Alessi working for free. By the end of this second trial, Alan Jackson and David Yannetti were working for free too. That's how much they believe in justice and doing the right thing. And Karen Reed lost everything. She had to sell everything. And the advice that she told Stephanie Sue on Rotten Mango that Alan gave to her about selling her house was amazing. What a role model. All of them. Three of the most ethical attorneys that I know. And I would add Mark Betterow to that pile as well. Classy, ethical. They take a lot of heat, they took a lot of heat for representing Karen Reed, and they still do. You see those morons in chats like yesterday when Billy Bush did his interview with Alan, and the idiots that were in there, just wild. And then when Alan announced he was, representing Nick Reiner, there was a whole bunch of new idiots that came out of the woodwork. How could he do that? How could he? These are men who believe in justice, and they believe that every person accused of a crime deserves a fair trial, and they believe in the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. It takes a really special set to be a criminal defense attorney. It really does. I couldn't do it. This is just the trifecta of, it's the hat trick of perfection right here. Okay. Let's watch this again.
And then the acquittal of Karen Reed when prosecutors decided to try her again galvanized her supporters who say she never should have been charged with murder in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. District Attorney Michael Morrissey faced backlash for spending millions to retry the case despite a heavily scrutinized police investigation.
A fish rots from the head down.
Oh, yeah.
The district attorney's office, the actual district attorney, is responsible for everybody who works under him.
David Yannetti represented Karen Reed. He questions the motivation to try Reed a second time.
I think that also gave the impression that this was more of a vendetta than a prosecution.
Morrissey stayed silent after.
More of a vendetta than a prosecution. 100% it was. Not even just a vendetta. It was in defense of other people. It was really not so much the prosecution of Karen Reed, but it was the defense of other people. And you know how we know that? You know how we know that? Because of this shot right here. Remember this shot? This was what I call the hostage video. I called this the hostage video because this was the video that Michael Morrissey, that coward, released to the media, that he filmed in his conference room. If you look at the law reporters that are behind him, the federal reporters, they're all out of order. They're numbered. They're supposed to be in numerical order. Newsflash, they're not. And I said it looked like a hostage video because it looked like he was reading something off of a script and that someone was off camera holding a weapon at his head. And the more we find out, the more we know that that might actually be true. And he put this statement out in August of 2023, right after Judge Cannone denied the gag order that the Commonwealth wanted before Karen Reed trial number 1. And he spewed nonsense about how Karen Reed's defense was a conspiracy theory. That there were 11 witnesses that says that John O'Keefe never went in the house. That Michael Proctor did not plant any evidence because Michael Proctor never went to 34 Fairview on January 22nd, 2020, January 29th of 2022. And he said in this statement that phone data will show that John O'Keefe never went in that house and that this has to stop. This has to stop. These witnesses, stop. These witnesses should not be harassed. And he mentioned Colin Albert's name more than he mentioned John O'Keefe's name. And this is being used in law schools. David Yannetti said this in open court. This video is being used in law schools to teach students what to never do as a prosecutor. What to never do as a prosecutor, because this was outrageous. He's been missing ever since Karen Reed's acquittal, but he felt the need to release this video and he couldn't take questions because there was no real media there. He just released it to them. He just sent it out to all of them by email. Here you go. Here's my statement. Please play it on your channel. Wild. But he's been missing since the acquittal. This was more a vendetta than a prosecution. This was more a defense of certain people that this man wanted to protect because he's here telling the world nobody's guilty but Karen Reed, that nobody inside 34 Fairview had anything to do with this, that Michael Proctor did not plant evidence. This was a defense of people instead of a prosecution of Karen Reed, and they were more concerned with a conviction than telling the truth. If she pleads, if she takes a plea, it'll be over. If not, it's going to be a whole episode. That was in the group text chat between Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert, and Nicole Albert. You don't have to believe me because they read that text thread during trial. And it sure was a whole episode, wasn't it? No, I don't think he ever has done a video like this before or since. I don't think so, Debbie. I don't think he's ever done a video like this before or since. Right. And strange credulity said then, Morrissey said he couldn't comment on the Walsh case before verdict because it would be unethical to put his thumb on the scales, right? We covered that too. When he was all of a sudden talking to the media after the Brian Walsh verdict, Brian Walsh was convicted, but of course he was. Because, Celebrate was accurate when it came to the Brian Walsh Google searches, but not accurate when it came to the 227 search by Jennifer McCabe's phone at 2:27 a.m. of Hoslong to Dying Cold. Interesting, huh? Am I saying the hostage video was unethical? Hell to the yes, Scott. You know me. I'm going to say what I think. Every single time. Keep listening.
Reed's acquittal, but did speak briefly about the case after securing a conviction in the murder trial of Brian Walsh last month.
Sometimes you don't like what a jury has to say, but that's our system of justice.
On a podcast released today, Reed talked.
Was that a nod to the Karen Reed case? Sometimes you don't like what a jury has to say? Of course it was. Right, Amanda, you're right. If you listen to the hostage video, Morrissey states that he's never made a statement like this in his whole decade of being DA. And it was 15 years that he was a DA. Yes, he did. This is going to be the first statement of its kind. I think that's how it starts, right? First statement of its kind. Sometimes you don't like what a jury had to say, right? Because for you, it's not about justice. It's not about who murdered John O'Keefe. God forbid. God forbid you reopen that investigation and really find out who murdered John O'Keefe, right? You're just gonna, whatever. No big whoop, no biggie. I don't like what they said. So, we're just not gonna look into it. Because if John O'Keefe was not hit by a car and a car did not hit John O'Keefe, it had nothing to do with Karen Reed. Aren't you curious? Do you have any intellectual curiosity about finding out who murdered John O'Keefe? Any at all? Because we do. And guess what? You're out. You're out at the end of the year now, and Adam Deitch is coming in, and we've watched his videos, and we've looked at his accountability platform that he's running on, and everyone's getting scared, and you can see when they're getting scared because they start ramping up on social. They start ramping up and getting really mean and trying to distract you with, oh, look over here, something shiny, look over here. Don't look over here. Don't look at him. Don't look at him. Look over here.
Like what a jury has to say, but that's our system.
Of Brian Walsh last month.
Sometimes you don't like what a jury has to say, but that's our system of justice.
On a podcast released today.
So here's just a little snippet that they're going to play of the Rotten Mango podcast. I haven't watched this yet, so let's hear what they have to say about it.
Reed talked about her prosecution before Morrissey's announcement. She says politics played a role.
We've got a district attorney who has a war chest despite not having any opposition. He's
got $400,000 in cash, Morrissey does, in his war chest. And in all of 2025, he received one donation of $200. One donation, $200 total. That's the total campaign contributions for Morrissey in 2025. And Adam Deitch, I don't know what his fund is up to now, but it was something like $110K last time I checked. If anybody wants to check, you can let me know.
It's dangerous, and I believe that is why I got where I was and why I got into this position.
Morrissey's office also took heat for the investigation into Sandra Birchmore, whose death was initially ruled a suicide before a former Stoughton police officer was charged in her killing. Morrissey would not sit down for an interview, but in a statement says being district attorney is about pursuing.
Oh, wait, let me move my head out of the way. Karen talked about Sandra Birchmore in her interview with Ron Mango as well. Being district attorney is about pursuing justice with integrity and fairness. Well, you did a shitty job, in my opinion. I'm incredibly proud of the meaningful work our office has accomplished. What? The money that you spent persecuting Karen Reed twice? How many millions of dollars did you spend hiring Hank Brennan and hiring Judd Welcher's firm to do a blue paint test? Almost $2 million. Ridiculous. That's what you accomplished.
Doing justice with integrity and fairness. I am incredibly proud of the meaningful work our office has accomplished.
And this election, it is coming up in November. So far, 4 people have indicated they will run for this seat to replace the district attorney. Live outside the courthouse in Dedham tonight, John Atwater, WCVB News Center 5.
So please
Good
vote.
evening, Ben. Yes, this podcast last.
Please vote. Please vote. If you live there and you can. What happens to the 400K? That's a great question. I don't know. Can he gift that to somebody if he, oh, wait a second. Double Bend Leather Company. Can he gift his war chest to somebody that he endorses? I don't know how that works. That's a great question. All right. Let's listen to this because this is from Channel 5 and this talks about Karen Reed, the Rotten Mango podcast a little bit before we jump into it.
For nearly 2.5. Good evening, Ben. Yes, this podcast lasts for nearly 2.5 hours. Among the information that Karen Reed reveals is her desire to get out of this state.
I've felt just kind of lackluster.
For the podcast called Rotten Mango, Karen Reed tells interviewer Stephanie Sue that during her 2 murder trials, she felt like she was running on endorphins, and that since the second trial ended last June.
All right, stop. We got to watch this too. If you can come to your scream safely and you're not on a scaffolding and you're not driving down a highway in any vehicle, including an 18-wheeler, come to your screen for just 1 second so we can share this moment again of them walking out of the courthouse after her acquittal. Ugh, makes me cry every single time.
She felt like she was running on endorphins, and that since the second trial ended last June, with her being found not guilty of killing John O'Keefe, she hasn't had the same drive and energy.
It's like when you get ready for the holidays and then you think, wait a minute, did Christmas already happen? It was all this anticipation, and then it's over in a couple hours and you unwrap presents, and it feels like that. Like I have to ask myself, wait a minute, it's over, right? It happened. I don't need to worry about this anymore.
Reed says she sold her house to pay for her legal defense and that she's currently living with her parents.
So check out, okay, we're going to watch that is a beautiful dress that she's wearing. I agree.
About this anymore.
Reed says
so here she is walking and she's wearing a Veronica Beard suit. I can tell because I know the buttons. And it looks like Eliza Little is also wearing a Veronica Beard suit. But also, people are like, Karen Reed spends so much money on her clothes, blah, blah, blah. First of all, she's got a closet full of clothes. She was a financial advisor, made a ton of money. Okay. I have suits in my closet that cost a lot of money too, that I've kept for 20 years. They don't go out of style. If you buy things that are classic and that are well made, they're going to stay in style forever. Also, she used Rent the Runway to rent a lot of her clothes for the trials because she had to be in trial she was on trial for 30 something days. So she needed a lot of outfits and she rented them. So when all these idiots are out there like analyzing every piece of clothing that she has and how expensive it is, number one, she's got a giant closet, which she also told us about in the Rotten Mango interview. And number two, Rent the Runway. I use Newly to rent my clothes. And there's a discount code in the show notes below. If you're going on vacation this winter and you want to rent a bunch of like cool dresses to bring with you and then just mail back at the end of the month, there's a discount code in the show notes for Newly, N-U-U-L-Y. Check it out. All right. They don't sponsor me. Don't sponsor me. I'm just saying clothing rental is an amazing thing because you can just mail it back. You don't have to wash anything. And then it's better for the environment also. All right, here we go.
She sold her house to pay for her legal defense and that she's currently living with her parents with no job and no money.
I have made nothing on the documentary. In fact, I lost trying to fight for a piece of the proceeds from the documentary.
So I have questions about that. Oh yeah, you can rent clothes. You get 6 pieces for the month and then you mail them back. It's like $90 or $100. Not Rent the Runway. I think Rent the Runway is more. And Rent the Runway is more like cocktail attire and really like suits. The stuff that I rent is like boho clothes, like Free People and Anthropology. Because I'm not going to court every day anymore. She lost money on that documentary. And so she says she fought them. Did they have a court battle? I need to know more about this because I honestly don't know the details. But it was called A Body in the Snow, the trial of Karen Reed. She had a documentary crew following her around for the entirety of trial 1. It was trial 1 because it came out after trial 1. And I remember because the one day that Mark Betterow and I went to court we went the same day. It was June 14th. I remember it was Flag Day, June 14th, trial 1. That documentary crew was following us around when we had lunch with them and everything. It was weird. They were totally in our face. They were filming everything we said or did. I'm like, what is going on here? And she gave them exclusive access to her 24/7. They were in her hotel room filming her, like getting ready for court. They were in the car with her, leaving court every day. And so I don't know what kind of deal she had with them. I'm sure that Alan Jackson had some sort of deal with them, but they never received a dime. And in fact, in the end, if you watch that body in the snow, I forget how many parts it was, like 4 parts. Yeah, they cut all the interviews of her friends and family that traveled to give interviews. And then they included people like, John O'Keefe's like sister-in-law who she never even met, and other friends of John O'Keefe's that she never even met. And it was totally anti-Karen. And it was wild. So yeah, karma knows your address, right? Let's listen to that again. So I need to know more about that because I don't know.
With no job and no money.
I have made nothing on the documentary. In fact, I lost trying to fight for a piece of the proceeds from the documentary.
Reed says
I don't know. So I don't know how they fought for a piece of the proceeds. I don't know if it went to court. I don't know. Interesting. That aired right after trial number 1. And I remember I remember what happened. Do you remember Michael Proctor did his interview? And I think they ran it around the same time that Michael Proctor was doing his apology tour. And it was bad. It was bad. It was terrible.
She's planning to write a book with her attorney, Alan Jackson, and planning to make a movie, but hasn't done either yet.
And she doesn't have any deals in the works. Remember, everyone was saying she had deals in the works. She had a book deal. She had a movie deal. She doesn't. She does not.
She says as soon as she can, she plans to move out of Massachusetts because she says she no longer feels safe here.
I don't want to see another Massachusetts state trooper. I don't care if they're reformed or under a different colonel. I have taken too many shots at law enforcement to feel protected by law enforcement.
We did reach out to the state police and the union representing state troopers. Both declined to comment on those comments by Reed.
Yeah, are you shocked? How many of you ever want to be pulled over by a Massachusetts state police trooper? I don't. And I barely ever go to Massachusetts. And as I drive into Massachusetts, there's that big sign, "Welcome to Massachusetts." And I always chuckle and say to myself, yeah, they're not talking to me. They're not talking to me. Sounds like she wants to get the hell out of Massachusetts, and who could blame her?
She is currently involved in 3 civil cases, including a wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of John O'Keefe. Live in Denver, David Bieniek, WCVB News Center 5.
And that is true. Oh, Timothy Busfield. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Have you guys been following that? Yeah, we're going to have to cover that on a different stream, but oh, wow. Timothy Busfield. And he's married to, guess who? Melissa Gilbert from Little House on the Prairie. I wonder if he groomed her from when she was 12. No. Bad joke. Oops. Stop. Okay. Did I stop sharing that? I think I did. Let us go now to your comments first before we move on to the next thing. Well, Kim, all I can say about Busfield is go back and look at, there was another actress who was very young when he did a movie with her, and it was very well known that he was not allowed to be alone with her on set. And I can't think of it right now who the actress was, but I read about it yesterday. All right, one moment while we go to the chat. Welcome to Maury Price, who became a new member. And look at that, it's Richard. Richard Ward says, my first comment on a Melanie Little stream, been admiring the community and channel for ages. You're a good bunch. We are a good bunch. They are a good bunch. The chat is called the Snark Tank for a reason. And you guys are amazing. And I love you with all of my heart. So welcome. It's a very friendly crew and the mods are on top of it. So I do have the best mods on YouTube. You have to admit, you guys, right? Thanks, Richard, for being brave enough to come into the chat today. And Lawsy C says, hi again. Gotta love a double day. Love you, Melanie. I love you too. Thanks for tuning in from across the pond. Nicole says, I got off work early for this. Thanks, Miss Melanie. Oh, thanks, Nicole, for your 10. On top. Thank you for your super sticker. You're always on top of it. Clamasu says, Howie Carr is offering $10 off a signed copy of his book, discount code Meatball. All one word. Yes, I ordered my signed copy. I have my copy, and it's always right next to me, right here. I don't get, Howie Carr doesn't sponsor me either, but it's called Howie Carr Mass Corruption. It's a great read. It's like a lot of it is his columns, and There's Karen right on the cover, in addition to Proctor, Higgins, Buchanan, Brian Albert, Hank Brennan, and Judge Cannone. So if you haven't read it, read it. I'm not sponsored by Howie Carr either, but look at Glamasu's getting out there and promoting Howie Carr's book. Thanks, Amy Adams, for gifting a membership so much. Thank you, Ms. Jeez Louise, for tuning in. Says, I love your channel. And Jason, R.I.P. Bobby Weir, you're the best, Melanie. Oh, thanks for being with me for almost a year. And, Bobby and I had a relationship for 45 years. 45 years of my life, Bobby was in it. It's my longest standing relationship with any man. And, from the time I was a very young girl until the present day. My last show was in 2025. My first show was in 1980. It's been a long ride. And to think that Bob Weir kept the music going 30 years after Jerry Garcia died, that's huge. That was a gift. It was a gift. And like I say to all of you and my children all the time, buy the tickets. There's always a ticket. There's always a ticket. Buy the tickets, do the things, make the memories, buy the tickets, because you never know. You never know what tomorrow brings. Thanks, Jason. I know you know. Barry Adams says, takes a special set of something to be the titans of defense like these guys. And I say that set includes a pair of brass ones. They're awesome. They are awesome. Wildcats. Let's count how many people have been demoted, fired, resigned, etc. from this trial, all because of Aiden getting the word out. And where is Lally? Well, there's been a list made. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of them. Thanks, Wildcats, for being with me for a month. Animal Love Fest has become a member, and Kim Fuller has become a member. Welcome. Barry Adams, thanks for your 10, says, when I go visit my sister in Maine from Connecticut, sometimes I think about long weighing by driving through New York State and over the top through Canada to avoid Massachusetts. I think you're not the only one. Kay Willis is here. Thank you, Kay, for sending me your mom's obituary. My thoughts and prayers are with you. And your mom, 99 and a half years old. That is a good run, girl. That is a good run. Thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. And if you need a realtor south of Boston, Kay Willis is your girl. Buy or sell. Many may want to sell. And here is the NY 723 ML Cupcake yacht. Says, I was pulled over by MSP not long ago for tint. He was mad that my tint was legal and no other issues. Well, that's interesting. And look who got a gift membership. Look, Strains Credulity gifted a membership, and look who won. Hold on. Hold, please. Where is it? Bob Weir won. Bob Weir, 617, won the membership. Because you know why? Because you just can't make it up. It doesn't come up on my end, but Bob Weir, 617, won the gifted membership from Strains Credulity. I'm sorry that you got pulled over by them. They'll do it. They will. And I think if you also have a New York plate, forget it. You're dead. You're dead. Thank you, Strains Credulity, for gifting a membership, and to Bob Weir, who received it. I mourn your passing. Like you don't even know. Thank you, Nona to 3, for gifting 5 memberships. You are amazing. You're all amazing. You're all amazing. I love you so much. Yes, Alan Jackson did give flowers to Turtle Boy yesterday on the Billy Bush interview. We're going to talk about that too. And I forget what order of things I have that in. I think we'll talk about that later. So let's talk about, I think Bob Weir's presence is in the chat. Yeah. It's wild, right? Great documentary on Bob Weir. The other one says Age of Nefarious. Thank you for being here for 11 months. All right, so hold your thoughts for a moment, because it's hard for me to read the chat while I'm talking. And I have all of these notes here that I need to light up. One of the things that I thought was great about the Rotten Mango interview, it was 2.5 hours long, almost 2.5 hours long, is that Stephanie did a lot of listening, and Karen did most of the talking, right? And the questions were few and far between. It wasn't a live stream, so they got to edit it however they wanted. And I think that they edited it in a way that was very friendly to Karen. And I think that was a huge score for Rotten Mango to get that interview. I also liked that the questions were well thought out, and there were things that a lot of us wanted to know the answer to, right? Or the answers to. And so I thought it was interesting. And Karen said some things that have been rumored about for a while. And because it came from Karen, I can now talk about it. And I've never talked about it before. And anytime anybody ever brought it up in the chat, I would delete it and the mods would delete it. And we weren't talking about the swingers. We were not talking about the pineapple people in Canton. But now Karen is telling us everything. And she's telling us that John told her that there was a big swinger scene in Canton. She said it in the interview. Don't blame me. I'm just repeating what she said. So one of the first things that Stephanie said to Karen is like, I can't even imagine what it's like to go through, or what it would be like to go through what you went through. It's kind of like somebody shook up your snow globe and then just walked away. It was a great analogy. And on my thumbnail, I put a snow globe with a Solo cup inside of it for you. They talked, let me go back to my notes from the first. Karen was very raw. She was very real. She was very authentic. Her emotion was palpable. And especially in the beginning of the interview, when she was kind of getting comfortable talking to Stephanie, like her speech was a little bit halted, and it was a little bit like she was like, I kind of feel like she was like trying to decide if she could really talk and if she could really trust Stephanie. And I think that the trust was built up throughout the interview. I don't know how long they really spent together. The final cut was 220, maybe 224. And I felt like she was sort of building up the trust, which is something that you need to do when you're talking to, because look, she's been screwed by that documentary company. Now we know that because I just played it for you from the news. But one of the graphics that will stay with me forever, and I'd never heard this story before from Karen, and Karen did do some documentaries and some interviews, you know, in between the trials, Nightline, Dateline, Priceline, I don't know, a bunch of things, right? And she did the Vanity Fair interview with Julie Miller, who was a friendly in the end. Julie Miller's articles that she did were very well written. And in fact, didn't Julie Miller stay at Karen Reed's house? And Julie Miller was pregnant. She stayed there for like 3 days. She got total access to her. And that was a great article. And we heard her say a lot of things that were clipped and shown at trial by Hank Brennan, because of course he would, without context. And so the one thing that Karen did say that will burn in my memory forever, and the way that she described it, and I'm just summarizing it, so I'm not going to give it its due, but I think if you haven't watched the interview, you should go back and watch it. She said that when she was in jail, she was arrested on February 1st. They kept her there overnight. This is the first time. And then she was arraigned the next morning, and she hadn't met David Yannetti in person. But she said that David Yannetti came to talk to her in jail for like 10 minutes before they went into the courtroom. And I mean, I just get chills thinking about this. And she said, so here we are. We've never met before. I'm in a jail cell. We're talking through the bars. And David has a copy of the police report, and he only has one copy. So I've got my hands through the bars, or one of us has our hands through the bars, and we're both trying to read this police report. And we have no idea what evidence they have. And just like, you could just feel the fear, and she's still not over it. Like, she will have PTSD or chronic PTSD for a very, very long time. She's been living in fight or flight for years. It's coming up on 4 years. January 29, 2022 will be 4 years ago on the 29th of this month. And so for 4 years, she has been living in fear and panic. And she's alpha. So, you know, she was involved in every single detail of, nobody knows Karen Reed's case better than Karen Reed. Living every single moment, not knowing whether or not she would be spending the rest of her life in prison. Because that's what they wanted to do. And it wasn't soon after the mistrial of trial number 1. And the Lifetime movie had the phone call like right away as she was leaving court. I don't remember if it was that quickly, but right away they announced that they were going to try her again. There was no pause. There was no, let's take the temperature of the public on this. No, because it wasn't about it wasn't about the truth. It wasn't about what the county wanted. It wasn't about what the residents wanted. It was about protecting a certain group of people. And her nervous system has been on overdrive for 4 years, and you can't just shut that off. You know, when you're going full speed ahead, I guess it was 3.5 by the time she was finally acquitted, every single day, and you have your mission, your single thread. Like, this is your mission. Your mission is to be acquitted of these charges so that you don't have to spend the rest of your life in prison for a murder that you did not commit because your car did not hit John O'Keefe. And why? Because ARCA said so. And Dr. Laposado said so. And even Irene Scorti-Bello, the state's medical examiner, said so. There were no injuries. But when Karen Reed first read that police report with David Yannetti with their hands through the bars of that jail cell, she didn't know what John's injuries were. She saw him, of course, in the snow, and Lifetime had way too much snow on top of him, by the way. She saw him in the snow, and she saw that there were parts of his face that were bloody, and she said she pulled a piece of glass out of his face. But she didn't know if he had a compound fracture of his femur. She didn't know if he had bumper marks on his lower body, which happens in every single pedestrian accident, by the way, or injuries to his knees. She only knew what she saw. She was not provided with photos of John O'Keefe's body in the hospital until May of 2022. So she had no idea what his injuries were other than what she saw herself. And so they got this police report that they're looking at 5 minutes before she was arraigned. And we've watched the arraignment several times. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. Because Adam Lally says in that arraignment, and go back and find it, that Michael Proctor went to the scene on the 29th of 2022. Adam Lally says it in open court at the arraignment. Everyone's wearing masks. It's a weird trip to January of 2022. And she didn't know what they had. And remember, because I think it was it WCVB? Who said, a police source says that they have ring camera footage of the incident. News at 11. And that stayed out there for a long time, a really long time. They didn't know what his injuries were. And then she's arrested. And then David Yannetti gets an anonymous phone call. She didn't even think about that he could have been beaten up inside the house until this anonymous phone call because she didn't even know what his injuries were. But the thing that stood out to her the most about that original police report, and the thing that she knew that something was wrong, is when she saw that Proctor said in more than one place that he and Buchanan arrived at her parents' house in Dighton at 4:30. And they were there until 5:30. They arrived at 4:30 and they left at 5:30. And she said, and I knew that wasn't true because I was there and it was daylight when they were putting my truck on that tow truck, on that flatbed. And anybody who lives in New England knows that at 5:30 in January, it is pitch black out. And she knew something was up. And then it was, it was like that in every other police report because we've read them too. She knew that they got there at 3:00. She also said she didn't know much about Brian Albert because she had never really met him before. I think she met him, a week before, she said briefly, right, in a bar, because there's a picture that she took of Brian Albert and John O'Keefe, and I forget who else was in the picture. And she said all she had to do was Google Brian Albert, and then the first video that came up was a video of Brian Albert boxing, and he's taping his hands up for boxing. I don't know where you can order Howie Carr's book. I would say go to his website. It's probably howiecarr.com. Maybe it's on Amazon now. I'm not sure. I'm sure it's easy to find. Google is your friend. And when she saw the video of Brian Albert wrapping up his hands and going into a boxing ring, and other video of him, doing dangerous things. He was on Boston's Finest, right? He was a tough mofo. The wheels started to turn. And it wasn't until May that she was given hospital photos of John O'Keefe's injuries. And she said she was scared to death. She was scared to death. She was like a sitting duck. She said she started to research. She's wicked smart. She's analytical. She's type A. And she said, and I started learning about Sandra Birchmore. And then she said, I was scared to death because I thought that it could be possible. She said I was like a sitting duck, which was an interesting choice of words, knowing what we know about the rubber ducks. And she said, I was scared to death because would I be hanging from my doorknob in my house? And would they rule it a suicide? I'm summarizing. So those were not her exact words, but she was frightened because she knew how corrupt these people were. And she said, if I was hanging from a doorknob in my house, they could easily explain it as, oh, well, Karen Reed just gave up. She just gave up. She was depressed. So, totally believable that people would just believe it. It's crazy. She said she was reading books on criminal justice like daily, like every 3 days she was reading a book. And then we saw the video from the second arrest. And that was gross. We've seen it before. Where Proctor goes around to her back door. And there's no reason for him to go to the back door. He could have went to the front door, but I guess he saw her cameras. And so he decided that he was going to go around to the back door. She said she didn't realize that she could be upcharged to murder, that she thought the charges were the charges and that was it. She didn't realize that the district attorney could just go into the grand jury and say whatever he wanted. And he did, because we've been over a lot of that grand jury and the motions to dismiss and the things that were said. And the Sullivan sisters were brought in to testify at the grand jury. And Proctor said he had no personal relationship with anyone inside the house or any Alberts or anybody connected with the case. He said that in the grand jury. And when they went to arrest her, Buchanan took her phone. She called David Yannetti. She had him on speakerphone. They did get this pretty accurate in the Lifetime movie. She called David Yannetti when she saw Proctor in her yard. She's like, what the F is going on? She calls David Yannetti. She's got him on speaker. And Buchanan came in, and we saw, if you watched the video, Rotten Mango showed it. Buchanan takes Karen's phone right out of her hand. He's like, I'll be taking this. And David's still on the line. It's an open line. And he just puts it in his pocket. And they had already taken her phones when they arrested her the first time in February. When they took her car, they took her phone. And she was on a live call. And Buchanan is just like, I'm taking that. I'll be taking that. And then he puts it in his back pocket. And it's in the actual video. And then in the video, she's asking if she can get some clothes. She's like, can you go get my pants for me? They're on the end of the bed. Can I put some underwear on? I don't have any underwear on. She was like in slippers. She was in UGG slippers and shorts. And she said, I wanted my clothes because I've had a colostomy bag 4 times in my life. 4 different times, 4 different periods in her life. She had a colostomy bag, and it was important for her to have underwear and clothes on. And Michael Proctor says in that video, see how crazy she is? She only cares about what she looks like on TV. And he says it. And then whoever's body cam is on says, by the way, I'm still filming this, right? And he's like, yeah, whatever. See how crazy she is? She's so concerned about how she looks on Channel 4 or something like that. Again, I'm summarizing. And Karen said, they're the ones who called the cameras. They're the ones who told the news that I was going to be there. They wanted to perp walk me. Why didn't they just call David Yannetti? In any other county in the world, in the United States, they knew she was represented by David Yannetti. They would have called him as a courtesy. They would have said, would you surrender your client? Could you bring her in? We've upcharged her. They didn't do it. They didn't do it because Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan and Tully really wanted the perp walk. They really, really, really wanted it. Did they think they were going to shame her into taking a plea? Because she didn't take a plea between February And when was this? June or July of 2022? Were they going to perp walk her, shame her into a plea? It was gross. Okay. They even gave Sarah Grace Patrick's father a courtesy call, and he brought her down and surrendered her. This is what happens in the real world. That's what happens in the real world. The DA will, or the police will call your attorney, and they'll give you the courtesy of having yourself surrender yourself. They wanted to humiliate her. 100%. They wanted to humiliate her. And she said the district attorney or the MSP called the cameras to have them there so that they could be parading me. Yeah, she made it a whole damn documentary instead of an episode. And she's not done yet. She says she wants to write a book with Alan Jackson, that he will be the co-author of her book. And then she was asked about all of the horrible things that Michael Proctor said about her. And I thought this was a great answer. And she said, Michael Proctor does not have the ability to embarrass me. All the things he said about her medical conditions, and you know what they are. We don't need to repeat them here. She said, I'm more concerned about Michael Proctor's lies than his insults. I thought that was a great answer and a great comeback. They talked a lot about butt dials and butt hang-ups and how there's more butt. Yeah, we know she's starting a YouTube channel. Thank you. We know. I don't know when it's launching, but that's old news by now. It hasn't launched yet. Nick Rocco is going to be the host, and Alan and Karen are both going to be on it. And I think that's great. She's going to get to tell us even more. She's going to tell us even more. And then she was asked by Stephanie, she said, do you think Chloe is still alive? And she says, you know what? That's the question I get asked the most. That's the question that I get asked the most. And she said that wherever Chloe was, that they said she was in New Hampshire, she said, I really don't think that was her. I really don't think that was her. That's what she said. Tushka says, remember Morrissey's "the jury has spoken" tweet after the acquittal? His comment is definitely a nod back to this. Yeah. Yeah, the jury has spoken. Exactly. Thank you, Tushka, for your super chat. Thank you, Jessica G, for your super sticker. I appreciate you so much. And Corruption in Mass says, Melanie, 2 times today and Turtle Boy later. Good times. Love you with all my heart. Thank you so much for being with me for 19 months. 19 months. You're an OG. You're an OG. Thank you, Betsy, for your Venmo. Says, thank you for all you do. I'm here for it. You're always here, Betsy. I love you. I love you so much. All right. Moving on. The channel is called The Read Files. That's right. It is called The Read Files. Then Stephanie asked her another interesting question. She said, if you could go to lunch with Lally or Brennan, which one would you go to lunch with? Do you remember? And she said she would go to lunch with Brennan. I don't remember her reasoning, though. Somebody remind me of what her reasoning was. And then she asked her, if you could give truth serum to 2 people, who would you pick? And she said, Michael Proctor and Brian Albert. I thought a good answer would have been, as I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could give John O'Keefe truth serum and really find out what happened? And really find out, because he's scared of her because he'd be uncomfortable. Is that what she said? Oh, yeah. She said Brennan because he's intimidated by her. Is that what she said? Because she intimidated him. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I think the channel is up, but they haven't done a live stream yet. There might be clips of things on there. John would tell us everything, wouldn't he? He's the only one who really knows the truth. Because she intimidated Hank with her glares. Is that what she said? That's why she'd want to go to lunch with him? She made him anxious, says Kit. And Karen said she thought she would make Brennan feel uncomfortable. Pro Gamer says, I would give the truth serum to Tully. That's a good answer because Tully's in everything. Tully is in everything. Everything. Oh, we're gonna get to the swingers because we're not done. All right. And then she did shout out a couple of restaurants. Did you notice that? She shouted out Saraceno's. I don't know where Saraceno's is, and also Warren's Tavern, because everybody fed her for free. She said she didn't pay for a meal for like 2 years. Everywhere she went, they were comping her bills, people were paying her checks, because they all felt for her and felt that she was being persecuted. So that was cool. A couple of restaurants got a couple of shout outs. I thought that was cool. She was asked if she ever went on the Karen Reed Reddit page, and then there was like an insult on there that they mentioned, which I'm not going to even repeat because I didn't like it. And then she was asked by Stephanie, do you think, she said, Stephanie said, I don't know if this is really true or not, but what do you think about the rumor that Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe were having an affair at some point? She said it, not me. I'm just doing some commentary on it. And that is when Karen Reed said that in 2020, when John O'Keefe took her on their second date, they had dated 20 years before, but in 2020, on their second date, John O'Keefe told Karen that there was let me get this right, a big swingers scene in Canton. And that's the way she answered the question of, do you think that Brian Albert and Jen McCabe were having an affair? Because I had heard about it. Stephanie had heard about it, I guess, maybe in the Reddit threads or something. I don't know. Then she was asked about the voodoo dolls, whether she thought that Jennifer McCabe really had voodoo dolls of her, and she said she doesn't believe it. And then something about, why do I have a note that says Lulu? I have no idea. If you remember what Lulu was, tell me. She asked her the weirdest thing she ever Googled. I don't remember her answer to that either. Do you? And then she asked her, let me see what you guys say. She said the voodoo dolls aren't working, right? If she does the voodoo dolls, they're not working. Thanks, Fanta Steve. Lulu was her student. Right. Thanks, Megan. Oh, Megan, you know everything. I know what it was. Oh, because that made me tear up too. Because Stephanie and I think it's her partner. I don't know if they're married, her husband, said that she was doing some research and she came across that somebody had reached out to her, or she found it. I don't know if it was on Reddit. I don't remember all the details, but she said to Karen, do you remember writing a recommendation letter for one of your students? And she talked about the recommendation letter and what it said. And then Karen said, was her name Lulu? Because I really remember her because they were some Korean students, I think, or Chinese students. Stephanie is Korean. She's from South Korea. It was on Reddit, on a Chinese site. That's right. They had to translate it. That's right. And I don't remember if Lulu was the student who actually she wrote the recommendation for, or if it was someone else. But Karen did remember the student fondly. And so that was so sweet to hear that. And all of the nice things that this student, and I think it was in Chinese, the letter read, I think it had to be translated. Oh, and Karen did say, yeah, that the craziest thing she ever Googled was like house repair stuff. And I do Google a lot of house repair stuff too. Unapologetically Prom says, Karen never once said she intimidated Hank. She just said he's uncomfortable around her and that they had staring matches. That's how rumors start about her personality. It wasn't me, because I didn't remember what she said about the reasoning for going to lunch with Brennan, but I'll adopt your answer. Oh, she names Claire, and then it was Lulu. Thank you. My notes aren't always very clear. She said it was her name Claire, and then at the end it was brought out that her name was Lulu, and she totally remembered her too. Oh, I forgot to read you Alan Jackson's statement about Michael Morrissey's resigning. So let's do that now, right in the middle. We're taking a little bit of a break here. I just have to remember where I put it. Hold on. Oh, please. Let's see. Oh, I know where it is. Okay, Ted Daniel tweeted Alan Jackson's statement about Michael Morrissey 3 hours ago. Let's take a look. Thank you for correcting that because we don't like to start rumors here. And here it is. From Ted Daniel at Ted Daniel News. Karen Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson, just released this statement to me about Norfolk County DA Michael Morrissey's decision to not seek another term in office. Michael Morrissey, and here's the quote, Michael Morrissey didn't so much step aside as the ground gave way beneath him. His decision to not seek re-election comes amid the dismantling of nearly the entire Norfolk County Detective Unit and the cloud of corruption that was finally brought to light during 2 failed and unjust prosecutions of Karen Reed became impossible to ignore. And Mr. Morrissey knew it. Mr. Morrissey stated that he is extremely proud of the office during his tenure. That speaks volumes about why public confidence in his office has collapsed and why his departure was not just necessary, but inevitable. Public trust in the justice system is eroded when political cronyism is rewarded over fairness, when accountability is resisted, and when devastating errors are defended instead of confronted. Pride under those circumstances is not a virtue, it is a warning sign. Karen Reed and her team are honored to have played a role in ushering a new era, an era of truth, accountability, and independence for Norfolk County. And those are the words of Alan Jackson. Well done. Props up. And then, well, this is interesting because it has changed in the what's happening and trending. Higgins, but it says in sports, Higgins is trending. And then it says Steve Winwood. What happened with Steve Winwood? Impeached Tim Walz and John O'Keefe. Earlier when I looked, it said Brian Albert was trending. So that's kind of wild. But now John O'Keefe is trending. And Higgins in sports. I don't know what happened with Steve Winwood, but I'm going to have to find out. Good stuff, right? Okay. Moving on. Karen also gave okay, so she was asked if she ever wants to be a lawyer, and she said, hell no. Steve Winwood is a musician. She said, hell no, I don't ever want to be a lawyer. Like she's like, I don't ever want to, I don't know. She said, I don't ever want to be a courtroom again, but she doesn't want to be a lawyer. It sounds to me like she wants to be a voice for the voiceless. Like she wants to get out, maybe advocate for other victims of corruption and victims who are wrongfully persecuted. That's like the impression that I got from the things that she wants to do. And she said she wants to keep telling the story. And she wants to get out there and spread the word that the system is too broken. The system is too broken. That's why she doesn't want to be a lawyer. Hold, please. For all of you who say she'd be a good lawyer, I think she's going to become a lawyer. No. She's not going to become a lawyer. She has no interest in that whatsoever. She did spend a lot of time talking about the amazing interns that helped with trial number 2. All of the interns from Boston College and Harvard, and they interviewed a hell of a lot of them. And then she gave them their flowers. Absolutely. Evan Wolk, who is now working for Alan Jackson. And she says that she called them the crash graddies, which is so cute. Oh, and then Stephanie said, I have this clip of Judge Cannoni. She called her Judge Bev in the interview. I have this clip of Judge Cannoni checking out one of the crash daddies. Have you seen it? And I don't know if Karen had seen it or not, but she did play it. And we know that that's been like edited to some certain music, and it was kind of funny. And I don't know if Karen said she had ever seen it before, but we got to see it again, which was fun. I also didn't know that her mom's dad was a police officer. I didn't know that. She brought that out. And she also said that it seems to me like she wants to leave Massachusetts. She does not seem safe and feels safe in Massachusetts at all. She wants to get the hell out of there. And who could blame her? And she also gave some warnings to the public. She said, do not speak. Do not speak because everything you say can and will be held against you. And I think maybe she wants to on her YouTube channel. Maybe she wants to get out there and educate. Maybe she wants to be out there educating people on what it's like to be a defendant, because she did say that, right? She did say that. And she said, I can tell you what it takes to beat the system. And maybe that's what she's going to talk about on her YouTube channel. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see, but I'm here for it. Then she talked about how the documentary crew screwed her over and screwed them over. She didn't see one dime from that documentary, and she gave them 24/7 access to her. They followed her everywhere. They were in her hotel. They were in her car. They were everywhere. And in the end, if you watched it, you saw that documentary, Body in the Snow, and it was terrible. It was terrible. It was very anti-Karen. And it was the pits. Tell me if you watched it. I think we watched it because I think we watched it and we talked about it, right? Go to the chat for a minute. Haas and the disclaimer was my favorite part. I have a picture of that. Hold on, let me pull it up. This was the disclaimer at the end of the Rotten Mango pot. I think it was at the end. Was it at the end or the beginning? I don't know. I took a picture of it, so I have it. So here it is. Let's see. Here it is, the disclaimer. Karen is in the middle of multiple pending civil lawsuits and has been advised to minimize any comments made about certain topics or people. In her criminal trials, anything she said could have been used against her, and that will probably be the case with her civil cases. So with that, we were limited in the topics we could cover with her to not put any pending litigation at risk. We hope you understand that we really wanted to ask her, Haas, someone could do certain things, testify in such a manner, etc. We were unable to. Well done. We hope to sit down with her again once she can speak more freely. The only question being, Haas long till then. Haas long till then. Wasn't that well done? Well done. Stephanie understood the assignment. She understood the assignment, and that was funny. Proctorial misconduct, and I love your username. And Ms. Holmes says, Karen said Brendan would be more interesting to have a meal of food with. I feel like I got to go back and watch it again and get the exact quote. Thank you, Ms. Holmes, because I didn't take notes on that part. I guess I thought I would just remember. Laura says, I'd give truth serum to Chris Albert. He was so FOS. He's just not smart enough to remain focused and calm. Love you, Melanie. Love you, Laura. And it is a good time to point out that my viewers' opinions, even if they super chat, are only their opinions, not necessarily my opinions, etc. Yes, Kirsty Nursey M said, I think it's crazy she had never met Brendan and John Jackson, who act like John's BFFs. Right. And the ex-girlfriend, the crazy ex-girlfriend, like all those people that were in that documentary, Body in the Snow, they cut out all Karen's friends and family who paid money to travel to come to where they wanted them to be interviewed, didn't reimburse any of their expenses, cut out all these people. Karen said, I gave them access to everyone. And they cut all of my people out, and they left all those people that barely even knew John in. Right? Yes. Math Born says, I pray to God Morrissey's new chapter involves prison. Well done. Well done. I think that's the whole interview. Was the one episode. It was 2.5 hours, and I think that's the whole thing. I don't think there's going to be a part 2. The part 1 was when the audio part of it came out over the weekend, and so I think that was kind of part 1. And then part 2 was the video that included part 1, that was audio only with the video, and then the second part's like 2 hours and 20 minutes altogether. This is something that was new to me, and now it makes sense. I don't think that the sidebars on trial 2 have come out yet, have they? Tell me. I could be wrong, because admittedly, I have not been able to get to the sidebars from trial 1. But Karen said in this interview, 10 minutes before opening statements, 10 minutes before opening statements in trial number 2, Judge Cannoni told Alan Jackson that he was not allowed to mention ARCA in his opening, that he was not allowed to mention it, that she still hadn't decided whether or not they were going to be allowed to testify, and he couldn't mention it in his opening. And remember, he was using notes during his opening. And I was like, that's so unusual. He would never do that. She gave Alan Jackson 10 minutes to redraft his entire opening, as if the deck wasn't stacked against them enough from the beginning. You have 10 minutes to redraft your entire opening statement. I was like, hello, hello. And so he got 10 minutes. So no wonder. I mean, listen, as an attorney, your opening statement is one of the most important things that you do during the entire trial. And it has to do with everything that you intend to prove during the trial. And a lot of his opening had to do with ARCA. And he had to redraft the entire thing. No wonder he had notes. Now it all makes sense, because sometimes, every now and then, we need Cardi B.
Hello.
Oops. Cardi, wait, I got to take this one down and bring that one up. Hold on.
Hello, I'm here.
Gotta hear it again. Loop it.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, I'm here.
You prepare for days, weeks on your opening, and then all of a sudden, she tells you 10 minutes before, yeah, you're not allowed to mention ARCA. And yet, Brennan could mention Welcher and everything else and the stupid experiments. That was wild. But then it makes total sense why he seemed a little bit not as confident as he normally does during an opening without his notes. And he did still kill it. He did. He killed it. I guess we're going to have to go back and watch it at some point. That's crazy. She then went on to say that she has no movie deal or no book deal. Everyone's saying that she's got a book deal. She's got lots of money. She doesn't. She needs her help. This stuff costs a lot of money. She's got no income. She had to sell her house, her 401k. And she also said that Alan Jackson gave her some really great advice when she was all upset about selling her house and everything she owned. She had to sell everything she owned to pay for her freedom, right? And to pay for her attorneys and the experts and everything. And she said, Alan gave me some really good advice. He said to me, don't think of it as like losing something. Think of it as you made these investments in your life, this house, and now you get to sell your asset to protect your freedom or to buy your freedom. Something, again, I'm summarizing, but I thought that Alan just entered treadmill. Yep, entered treadmill. And I thought that was such great advice from a guy who she considers to be, like, I'm sure, one of her best friends by now. At one point, she did say she lives with her parents, and she said her address, and I'm hoping that they bleep it out. I'm hoping that they cut that out of the podcast because I wasn't happy about that. And then they talked about the Lifetime movie, and this interview with Rotten Mango was filmed before the Lifetime movie came out. So Karen wasn't really familiar with it. She didn't really know much about it because obviously it hadn't aired yet. But she did tell a funny story about Katie Cassidy being the daughter of David Cassidy from the Partridge Family, played Keith Partridge in the Partridge Family. And Stephanie didn't know who David Cassidy was or what the Partridge Family was because, again, according to the news and Sirius XM, she's a Gen Z podcaster. That's her target audience. And Karen told a fun story about how when she was 15 years old, she went to a Broadway play and David Cassidy was in it. And so she described who he was. And she said, and to think, she said, I never would have thought at 15 years old that, she's 45, that 30 years later, David Cassidy's daughter would be playing me in a TV movie. Right? Yes. Iceman says, I didn't realize she was advised to put some money toward the appeal. That was a conversation she had with Marty Weinberg, right? Right. Oh, is that what it was called? Blood Brothers? Wait, was Sean Cassidy in it too? Because she did mention Sean Cassidy. I remember Sean Cassidy on the cover of Tiger Beat magazine and going to a Sean Cassidy concert when I was like a tween. I think my mother took me to see Sean Cassidy at one point. And then she said that she's happy that it's getting the story out, the Lifetime movie. She's happy it's getting the story out. They didn't consult with her. They're not required to. And then she asked her about the Elizabeth Banks project, which I think is David E. Kelly too, right? Is involved in that somehow. She said she's not involved in that either, but she would like to be. Elizabeth Banks. I mean, I'm sure you're not watching, but Elizabeth Banks, if this does get to you somehow, I really, really, really think that it would be great if you would hire Karen Reed as a consultant on your project. Hire Karen Reed as a consultant on your project. You have a lot more than 3 days to prepare for this role. I think that would be a great thing to do. I'm just putting it out there. She did talk about rosary beads. She was asked about 5 things. I can't remember what the question was. 5 things that you would take with you or something like that. And she talked about a set of rosary beads that were made from the yellow roses from John's funeral, because she was not allowed to go to John's funeral. I thought that was a really touching moment. Because she never got a chance to grieve John. They were dating for 2 years, and she never got a chance to grieve him. And it's so sad. And I feel like, they talk about the 7 stages of grief. And she talked a lot in the beginning about how you can't just, after this has been in your life for so many years and you have this focus and this drive, and this is the one thing that you're focused on, you can't just all of a sudden just drop that, and I think a lot, it's like the 7 stages of grief, right? Denial, acceptance, bargaining. You guys know about the 7 stages of grief, right? And all of a sudden she wakes up and she doesn't have that mission anymore to talk about her case all day and work on her case all day. Now she's got the civil cases to work on, but it's not the same, and it's like, I don't know if anybody out there has ever been in a play, but like when you're in a play and like you do the performances of your play and then all of a sudden it's over and it's like, you're never going to see the cast again and you guys are never going to be together all the time rehearsing. And I mean, that's the best analogy that I can come up with, but it was like, she was like with Alan and Liza and David and Bob every single day for so long that all of a sudden they were just not going to be talking to each other. And she said, she had felt this like profound sense of loss when they were all going back to their families and they were all getting on planes to go back to their normal life. And she's like, I just didn't have a normal life to go back to. I'm living with my parents at 45 years old. A profound sense of loss. And it's heartbreaking because she had to sell her house. She had to liquidate her 401k. She lost her jobs. She I think was saying that she really didn't have anything to go back to. She lost her boyfriend. And so maybe she can find another mission by getting out there and talking about it and exposing more corruption in other places and being a voice for other defendants who don't have a voice. And I think that she could be really, really such an asset to that space, right? Joe Marr says, yes, she's traumatized, which is understandable. It's truly heartbreaking for Karen. I hope she will continue to get stronger every day. Right. Asian Nefarious says, I miss the bittersweet rap parties. Right. And she said she didn't even want to plan a dinner or a celebratory dinner because she didn't know if she was going to be acquitted. And so she kind of threw it together and just made a call. And she really didn't have time to even celebrate or unwind. And when you're wound up like that, like a top for so long, it's hard. It's so hard. I think you can tell me if there's anything that I did not mention that you want to talk about that came from the Rotten Mango interview, but I think I hit all of my bullet points. But I really think that Elizabeth Banks, call Karen Reed, hire her as a consultant. And she did say that she wants to write a book and she'll write a book and Alan will be her co-author because she learned the hard way. She got screwed on the documentary. It's never going to happen again. TED Talks would be cool. That's a great idea. Who said that? The subliminal shoe. 5 stages of grief. Oh, it's 5 stages, says Truth Seeker. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I mean, after something like this is over, it is. It's like maybe you go through the similar type stages. TED Talks would be cool, said the subliminal shoe. James Lynch said, plus she had these evil a-holes screwing her over. I can't even imagine. Aunt Bibi says, I have no doubt whatever she does next, Karen's going to be brilliant at it. Yes. Yes, that was interesting too. Baruberry says, also running between the two rooms while two teams were working on her closing and then also her potential sentencing. Right. In one room, I forget, I can't remember who now, but it was like Alan was doing the closing. So it was Alan and two other people were working on the closing in one room, and then others were working on the sentencing in another room. And she's running between both rooms, trying to help both teams. Yes. And she was surprised at Brennan not asking for prison. Yeah, she was ready. She was ready. She thought Brennan would ask for her to go away for a year. That's what they were all expecting. And so she was preparing for having to go to prison for a year. And we were all surprised too, because I remember Mark Bettero and I were shocked. And Bettero said that was the right thing to do. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't think Brennan had it in him to ask for no jail time for Karen Read. I just didn't think that those would be his marching orders. I thought his marching orders were going to be, you get as much jail time for her as you can. Kit Gracie says, Stephanie Sue did an amazing job with her coverage and her interview. That's so too. I don't know about Cox being sued. I can't talk about that right now because I don't have the papers and I'm not prepared to talk about it right now. So I will at some point, but without receipts. I don't even know. I mean, people were speculating that Michael Cox, the Boston PD commish, was resigning, but I haven't seen proof of that yet either. So I don't like to spread rumor and speculation, but even if you send me the papers right now, I'm not going to go over them right now. And Susan said that was the only shred of decency that Brennan ever showed humanity, Susan said. Peaches says he gave up towards the end, I swear. Kind of felt like that, right? Didn't it kind of feel like that? Yes, Billy Nice says, not to mention how high profile this case was. Anywhere she goes, there's still going to be boneheads out there who think she's responsible for what happened to John. She'll get those certain looks forever. I'm glad that she's going to get out and talk, and she's going to have a YouTube channel so that she can say everything she wants to say. Because for so long, she had to sit almost silent and defend herself silently. And people didn't like her facial expressions and all that other BS. We need the button sometimes. And now she's going to get to talk. Linda said, just glad the jury saw the shenanigans and were like, nah. Little Cupcake says there was too much public pressure and they knew what they did to her was bogus. Yep. If you think I'm clicking on a Google link, you've never met me. You've never met me. Send me the citations and I'll find them myself if they're on Pacer. Just send me the case numbers if you want to do that. But I don't have time for tonight, and I'm not clicking on any links, girl. I may have been born at night, but not last night. They get sued all the time, though. Like, that's not shocking, right? 25 Scott. Scott says if he's being sued, in my opinion, he won't resign because then he'll have to pay for his own legal counsel. No, I don't think so. I think if he was on the job at the time that the lawsuit was commenced or that the acts happened, I think that they will represent him. But also, they get sued all the time. So before I even comment on it, I got to even see what it's about. You know what I'm saying? But don't send me links because I'm not going to click on them. Free Turtle Boy. Free Turtle Boy. Oh, thank you. Don't forget to like it. Oh, Juice Life is here. Love you. Love you. I've been juicing again. She's a juicer. I love juicing too. Free Turtle Boy, says Jody. All right. Should we move on to the Lifetime presentation? The Lifetime movie aired on Saturday night. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I emailed Sarah Grace's contact info. Thank you, Melissa. I'll look at it when I have a chance. I got about 400 emails a day. So I'll look at it. Next time we talk about her, I'll put it up. Some of the characters in the Lifetime movie had glow ups and some of them had glow downs. Some of them are probably very angry about the casting of the Lifetime movie. Some of them might be happy about the casting in the Lifetime movie. That is Katie Cassidy is David Cassidy's daughter. It is. I mean, why not? Like, don't boycott the Lifetime movie. Who cares? It was interesting. What was interesting about it is that it may bring a whole lot of other people who want to know more about Karen Reed's case to dig deeper and to come into the rabbit hole. Come into the rabbit hole. That we call me Alice sometimes because I fell into the rabbit hole of Karen Reed. And if it gets a couple of people interested in Karen Reed, there's Alice right there. If it gets a couple more people interested in the Karen Reed case and the corruption, and they really want to know more about the story, that's a great thing, don't you think? It's a great thing. Don't boycott it. By all means, watch it. And then we talk about it. And there was some glow downs. I'm just going to say it. Here's what I thought. Here's my initial thoughts, because of course I take notes on everything. My initial thoughts in the opening scenes were that they made John O'Keefe to be a really doofy character. He was doofy. And I don't think that John O'Keefe was doofy in real life. I didn't know him. I never met him. I haven't really seen any video of him. But he did not seem like a doofus to me. What do you think? Do you think that the actor for John O'Keefe kind of played him as a doofy in a doofy kind of way? I mean, I just didn't like it. The wardrobe was on point, okay? They had John O'Keefe's exact t-shirt, his exact lightweight hoodie, his exact baseball cap, Karen Reed's exact suits that she wore, the shoes, everything. And even on the Billy Bush show yesterday, Alan Jackson said that he thought that it was very good with regard to that. And hang on, because I have notes on that also. Where did I put the Billy Bush stuff? He talks about the Lifetime movie. Let's go there first. Let's hear what Alan Jackson had to say about the Lifetime movie, because I found that to be interesting. Hold, please, while I find it. I had so many tabs open. I mean, so many windows open on my computer that I was getting a draft. But I'm pumped. Okay, here it is. I think Billy asked Alan, because yesterday Alan Jackson was on Billy Bush's show live. I don't get it. I don't know why nobody super chats over there. I don't get it. I sent you guys over there. There was maybe there was 1 or 2 super chats over the entire show. It's like, you got Alan Jackson live. You could ask him anything you want. And nobody was super chatting. I don't get it. I don't know. Here he was. Alan was asked about the Lifetime show. Oh, that's Cardi. Hi, Cardi. Love you, girl. Come on down, Cardi. Alan was asked about the Lifetime movie, and here's what he said.
What's interesting is there are people putting, pen to paper now because of your work. TV shows are being written and procedurals and a movie and mostly on Karen.
Right.
Right. One of them is out with an actress I haven't heard of, but then there's more to come.
You mean you're talking about the Lifetime show?
Yeah.
The Lifetime movie?
There was a Lifetime
That
movie.
is the actress, Katie Cassidy.
Yeah.
Fantastic job. She did a great job. I saw the film over the weekend. She did a terrific job. She is David Cassidy's daughter.
Oh, that's
did
right.
not know
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Partridge Family.
Right.
It was uncanny how the set designers, the production coordination of that film, the direction of that film, it was uncanny how they captured accurately, first of all, what Karen looked like, down to her shoes, down to her clothing.
True. Her mannerisms. I thought her mannerisms, there was one scene specifically, like even just the way Karen holds her hands, I thought Katie Cassidy nailed it. The way that sometimes she would brush her hair back that we had seen 100 times, I thought she nailed that. And Katie Cassidy had 3 days to prepare for this. 3 days to prepare for this role for what is the length of a feature film from the day she was hired until the day they started shooting. And in character development world, Timothy Chalamet studied for 7 years to play Marty Supreme. 7 years. She had 72 hours. It's wild. And I thought she nailed the mannerisms. I agree. All right, let's see what else Alan said.
My character wore down to the watch, and somebody found these bracelets. It was.
Oh my God. Can we talk about the bracelets? The bracelets. are the reason of the Cancun rumor with Alan Jackson, because Alan Jackson was in court. He was wearing that bracelet. I had just come back from Cancun with Dave Matthews, and I said, wow, I got a bracelet like that in Cancun. When I was with Dave Matthews last week, I wonder if Alan Jackson was there. And that morphed into this whole rumor that Melanie Little was in Cancun at Dave Matthews with Alan Jackson. It was wild. And he talks about the bracelets. Okay. That's why I have merch that says I went to Cancun with attorney Melanie Little. Because Grant Smith Ellis chased after Alan Jackson on the courthouse steps and said, did you have fun in Mexico with Melanie Little? It was wild. If you know, you know. If you've been here long enough, you know. It's hilarious, but he's going to tell us about the bracelets. Hold on.
It was bizarre to watch. It was nuts. They found these bracelets. It was bizarre to watch. It was nuts.
They found your love bracelets?
Well, you call them.
Do those bracelets, hold those up for a second. Do those have meaning?
Well, they're designed by a guy named Din Van, a Parisian designer who I found the first one in France when I was traveling in France many years ago. And so I bought one. And then when I had my daughter, I bought the second one just to commemorate my love and adoration for her. So I wear these. I never take them off.
How old is she?
She's 6.
6.
6
you
years
have a
old.
6-year-old.
I have a 6-year-old. You're welcome.
That's why you're in
and
such
I run
good
this
shape.
business.
Oh my God. You work as hard as you do. You're in sick shape chasing around a 6-year-old. I
That's
thought
right.
it was complete discipline. Okay. So much to discuss. And, but I do love the fact that a guy
Okay. So that what?
who grew up with absolutely nothing in Texas, buys bracelets from someone named Din Van. Can we just say that's America, baby?
That is America, baby. Thank you, Billy. We'll come back to you in a moment because I had some other clips from there that I wanted to share with you. Alan's got a 6-year-old and the bracelets. And the bracelets. You have our merch. The Goodmans have the merch. They went to Cancun with me. And last year, I really did take you to Cancun with me. If you remember, you enjoyed some Dave Matthews with me. And this year, it's going to be bittersweet. It's next week. And because of Bob Weir's passing, Dave Matthews sat in with Dead & Company a lot. And it'll be interesting to see what Dave and Tim do as a tribute to Bobby Weir. It'll be very interesting. Yeah, a Din Van ad, that should be. Okay, so back to it. In this interview, Alan also gives Turtle Boy his flowers, and we're going to play that as we get towards the end. But in order to get back to, these are just like screenshots that I took with my camera of my television. That's like really all that I could do when I was watching this show. I thought Paul O'Keefe and John O'Keefe were being made to be like doofuses, like their casting was doofus casting. Also made. They also had Karen walking into the bar saying, I'll have a vodka soda. And I just don't think, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Karen Reed drinks well vodka. I don't think she would just walk in and be like, oh, give me a vodka soda. She would probably have a brand favorite, Grey Goose or Tito's. And she'd be like, Tito's and soda, Kettle and soda, right? Grey Goose and soda. But, Lifetime doesn't want to pay for the placement. And so they didn't. Like the beer that it looked like John O'Keefe was drinking looked like maybe it was a Heineken, but it was like a fake beer. It was like a fake beer and they didn't do it. What I thought was also really weird, when they walk into the waterfall and Jen McCabe says to John, she says, oh, St. John is here. Did you find that a little bit odd? St. John. I don't think that Jen McCabe ever called St. John or John O'Keefe St. John or St. Johnny. Yeah, like like a mix between Rolling Rock and Heineken. Wasn't that so weird? Was I the only one who picked up on that? How weird that was? Oh, St. John is here. No one ever called him that. At one point in one interview, I think Karen did say that he was like the patron saint of Canton because of what a good person that he was. And they grabbed it from that. And they had Jennifer McCabe calling him St. John. And then Chris Albert was also mentioned like in the first 5 minutes of the movie, which was a little bit wild too. There were a lot of characters that were not represented in the Lifetime movie, including Higgins. But she did say St. John. And then, they said this was a weird line too. They were like, when they walk into the waterfall, I think the guy that was supposed to be Brian Albert was like, what are you pricks having? What are you pricks drinking? And then Karen says, oh, whatever you pricks are buying. I thought that was just kind of weird. I've never heard Karen use that word. I've never heard any of those House defendants use that word. And I thought that was a weird a weird line. But what was interesting is that they did show Karen backing out of the garage and hitting John O'Keefe's car in the driveway really hard. Like, it was hard. You heard it. Sound effects were on point. And she shook. And it was like, there was no doubt from the footage they showed in Lifetime. There was no doubt that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe's car in the driveway. When I said that some of the characters had a glow down, this is what I'm talking about. This is the actress playing Carrie Roberts. I'm sure Carrie Roberts is not happy today. Or whatever day, Sunday. This was Saturday night. I'm sure Carrie Roberts was. That is no Sandra Bullock. No shade to this actress at all. But it also doesn't look like Carrie Roberts. But here you go. That is Carrie Roberts driving white-knuckled in the snow. Paul sitting lovingly with his mom. That was something else that we all picked up on that we thought was just a little bit unrealistic. There was way too much snow. When they were digging John out of the snow, there was way too much snow. Sandra Bullock was booked. She was not available. She didn't want to prep for this in only 3 days. And Lifetime notoriously pays shit. They pay so little money to their actors. And most of the people have to bring their own clothes. Like, a lot of the time, they don't even have a wardrobe department. I've auditioned for many a Lifetime movie. And let me tell you, they want you to come and work for 3 weeks. And they'll travel you there and put you in a crappy hotel. And they'll pay you $6,000 as the lead in a Lifetime movie for the entire shoot. Maybe Katie Cassidy was able to get a little bit more because she's a name, kind of. But they shoot it real fast. And that's what you're dealing with. But again, like Alan said, the wardrobe was on point. Although I thought that nobody knew how to tie a tie in this movie, and I was mad about it. But here's I think this was the Hank Brennan character. They had a little bit of trial 1 and a little bit of trial 2, and both characters had glasses because we know that that Hank Brennan and Lally both had glasses. But now that I have this up, I can't remember which one this was. I think this was the Brennan character. And if you look, like, they don't know how to tie a tie. Like, a lot of these shirt and tie combos didn't go. Like, look at how big his shoulders are. This is an ill-fitting suit. And I didn't like it. This is Judge Canoni. I mean, can we say holy wig? Holy wig. The wig was terrible. It was like nobody could find a brush. Nobody could find a wig brush. Are you kidding me? And this actress is beautiful. Okay, but oh wait, come back to me. Come back to me. She doesn't look like Judge Canoni except for the wig. Jimmy, Auntie Deb would have been a better casting choice. That was Brennan. I thought so. Look at that. I mean, the wig, the facial expressions were kind of on point. It was hilarious. Maximum wig. We were all dying laughing, right? We were dying laughing. It was perfect. Something else that was interesting. Remember when they were digging John out of the snow? I mean, it was like so much snow. It was like you couldn't see any part of his body. It was wild. He's right on the berm. Also, he's right on the berm in the Lifetime movie, like right on the curb, which we know he allegedly wasn't. But very interesting. Jennifer McCabe says when one of the law enforcement officers come on scene, she's like, "Oh, Mike. Oh, Mike." Calls him Mike. And at first I'm thinking, Mike, well, Proctor didn't come that day, according to, all the police reports and the hostage video. It was Lank. Mike Lank. She knew Lank. They got that part right. Yeah, I know. Sarah's like, I love the wig. It was ridiculous. It matched her hair perfectly. It was Lank. I have other notes here. Paul O'Keefe, doofus. Johnny's garage cam. Oh, yeah. The video at the top said Johnny's garage cam on it when she's backing into his car. The guy who played Proctor, also a doofus. Let's keep going. That wig was crazy. Crazy. This was fantastic. Welcome to Canton. I don't know if that's the real, that was Judge Canoni. I don't know if that's the real Welcome to Canton sign, but I thought that was on point a little bit. She also didn't spin in her chair. She also didn't flip her glasses around or like twirl her glasses around. The representation of the Sally port in my notes I have is not even close. But I don't know if I took a picture of that. Oh, yeah, there's way more police officers on the lawn at 34 Fairview. I don't know what happened. I didn't, it's like a tilted. I was trying to take pictures with my camera and put things on pause. Way more officers on the lawn than there really were. And then the line was, Proctor, they put you on this? Because even they couldn't believe it. Even they couldn't believe they would put Proctor on it. Because he knows the Alberts are like his second family, according to his mother. And then the next slide I have here is, yeah, I'm the lead investigator. And here he is, Proctor, coming out, being the lead investigator. And right there, we know, because it says right there, he's the lead investigator. Lead investigator. Yeah, the flagpole's in the wrong spot. Oh, is this supposed to be the flagpole all the way up here? Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard in an 80-minute movie to get every detail right, because in real life, it's much closer to the street, right? And then look at this. Proctor says to this guy, but it's not Boston police. We know that. It's Canton PD. You're using solo cups. And he's like, it's all we got right now. It's all we got right now. Yeah. Who gave them to you? I mean, so anybody watching this, tell me if you didn't know if you're in the chat and you didn't know anything about the Karen Reed case and you did watch this, tell me what you thought. No leaf blower. They didn't show the leaf blower. And right, Proctor didn't go to the crime scene that day. We know that. He's sworn to it, even though Adam Lally said he did in that initial arraignment in February. Yeah, the way the blood was floating around. Hi, Melisa. In the cup like a drink. That was gross. That's all we got right now. That's all we got. And I wonder if anybody's in the chat that knows nothing about the Karen Reed case and watched the Lifetime movie and is like, wow, I want to go find out more about the Karen Reed movie. I mean, the Karen Reed trials. So yeah, that's another fact they got wrong. And then again, here he is looking inside the solo cup because, of course, Alan Jackson in the tight black t-shirt was everything. Have we ever seen Alan Jackson in a tight black t-shirt ever? Alan says they got the bracelets right. So let's zoom in. I mean, that looks like a bracelet, but I don't think they had his exact watch. And that looks like a red bracelet. It looks different than the one he showed on the Billy Bush show, but Alan Jackson in the tight black tee was everything. And here's Katie Cassidy, who played Karen right here on the right. And this is in David Yanetti's office. And that was David Yannetti. Here is the actor they chose to play Aidan Carney, but they couldn't tell this story without Aidan Carney. And so that was very interesting. He doesn't look like Aidan, but I did like this, how he's in his car driving, and he says he's talking about the framing of an innocent woman, and have the chat here. And then, here's a beautiful picture of Katie Cassidy, who did resemble Karen in a way. And there it is. And he said, and here's the captions. I had to put them on the screen. Aidan driving in his car during the rolling rally saying, it is a beautiful day here for some peaceful protesting. Peaceful protesting. He's got a turtle's neck, but he was wearing a Turtle Boy sweatshirt and a Turtle Boy hat. So that was kind of interesting. This was the rolling rally scene. You know who did make the cut? Marietta Sullivan made the cut. Okay. Marietta Sullivan. Tell me what you think of the casting on this. Here's when Karen walks into the lobby in Aruba and sees John making out with, according to Marietta Sullivan, they weren't making out. I have my own opinion on that. Here's where Karen walks in on this incident, and they didn't really, play it up too much. And then here's John saying, what are you mad about? And there's the Marietta Sullivan character in the background looking over her shoulder as she's trying to run away. And then there she is. And she says, hi, nice to meet you. Marietta Sullivan made the cut. She must be as happy as Carrie, said somebody. This is the Juliana Nagel character. And so she must not be happy. I don't know what's happening here. Her facial expressions are everything. But look at the judge's face. Look at the judge. And look at Madam Court Reporter. First of all, that's not our Madam Court Reporter, but they did They're on point with the athletic cup that the court reporter is talking into. They got that detail right. There's a glow down. There's a glow down for Julie Nagel and for Carrie Roberts. But the athletic cup is everything. Julie Nagel made the cut. And again, this is hilarious. And the reason I took this screenshot is, first of all, their set design on the courtroom was on point, right? Prosecutor's table, like attached to the judge's bench. And look at, when I zoom in on the judge, it looks like she's sleeping. How many times did we see that IRL? How many times did we see that IRL? She looks like she's sleeping. Spot on, right? And again, with the athletic cup, talking into it. And that's supposed to be Jim Leclerc, I suppose. And I don't know if this was during Lally's portion for trial number 1, because they really didn't have a lot of trial number 2. But I was hoping they were gonna. I was hoping they were gonna cover trial number 2 and the acquittal, and they did. And then at the end, they put this disclaimer: no one other than Karen Reed has been charged in connection with the death of John O'Keefe. They didn't want to be sued. I don't have a picture of Lally, I don't think. And that was the disclaimer for Stephanie Sue. I only took limited pictures when I was watching it the other night, and then I thought I would show them to you. They didn't want to be sued. And so they had to be careful about how they told the story, because there's some very litigious people who have been threatening to sue everybody. They've been threatening to sue everybody. And so legal at Lifetime was like, yeah, no, you can't say that. No, we're cutting this scene. We're cutting that scene. We can't talk about that. We can't talk about this, because they don't want to be sued. It's a low budget film. They don't pay their actors. They rush these things through. They can't make everything correct. But do you think that it interested more people into doing their own deep dive into the Karen Reed saga? Because that pays for itself, right? It's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. But I was annoyed about the Sally Port, because it looked nothing like the Sally Port. Really looked nothing like the Sally Port. But it was better than the other one. I thought way better than the body and the snow thing. All right, hang on. Let me get back to Alan Jackson. And you guys tell me what you think. Let's go to the chat. Shari says, thank you for your super sticker. Kimini Cricket says, talk about Cox being sued. It's on Boston 25. I don't have the papers. And so until I have the papers, I don't really want to talk about it. I'll take your 5 though. Take your 5. But I have an agenda for tonight, and that's just not in it right now. Maybe tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Kimini Cricket. Proctoria Misconduct says, Timu Turtle Boy had all of us at the watch party excited to get in Turtle Boys live. Gypsy Rose should have played Carrie, and Cassidy was a terrific Karen. I thought so. I thought for the limited time she had, that she really nailed the mannerisms. Bergen County, it became a new member. Bergen County Deborah, welcome. Proctoria Misconduct says, Bev's wig was gold on its own, but Jimmy wore it better. Agreed. Kay Anderson says, I wonder if Lifetime consulted with Dr. Welcher on John O'Keefe's wardrobe. That's hilarious, because we know that Welcher knew exactly where to buy every single item of clothing, and he did, and he was spot on with it, right? Thanks for your 5. And Hope's jury verdict says, I was laughing that Carrie didn't get Sandra Bullock as her character. Well, they get Lifetime can't afford Sandra Bullock. Thanks for being here for 20 months. And also, Kay Anderson, thank you for your super chat. Jenny says, I will be seeing Sean Cassidy on Friday in Napa. Sean Cassidy is still like playing concerts in Napa? I mean, that's pretty awesome. I'll allow it. Oh, my other notes here that I didn't get to yet is that I thought that they made the wardrobe all around, I thought was ill-fitting, especially on the men. And the shirt collars were too big, like the necks were too big on many of those characters. So I thought that Karen Reed's character's hands, like she did the right thing with her hands, but the posture I thought was off. I thought the body posture was off a bit. I thought Brian Albert, they depicted Brian Albert as a complete and total redneck. Fight me on it. And also on the original arraignment, they did not have Karen Reed wearing a mask, which we know she was wearing a mask in the February arraignment. Bill Reed, I thought the character of Bill Reed, they gave Bill Reed like another 50 pounds, but I thought that his voice, the actor's voice who played Bill Reed, was on point. I thought it was on point. Also Alan's t-shirt and bracelet, right? They got that right. And I wrote these notes before I saw this interview with Billy Bush. And for Turtle Boy, I just wrote oofa. Oofa, looks nothing like him, but they had the sheet hanging behind him as if he was back in the old days with the sheet hanging behind him, and also the peaceful protesting thing. They did get into the 227 search, which was great. They did Marietta dirty. I thought they did Marietta dirty. They did Carrie Roberts dirty, and they did Julie Nagel dirty, I think, in the casting, in my opinion. Well, we thought that Bev looked like Judge Kennedy looked like a Parker Posey in a wig. Did anybody make that connection? That did she kind of look like Parker Posey in a wig? Parker Posey is also everywhere. That was not Parker Posey. Obviously, they couldn't afford her, but they also got in with "What if any" one or more times from Lally. Said "What if any" one or more times. Trooper Paul also looked to be a doofus. If that was Trooper Paul, because now I don't remember because my notes are all over the place. Karen's wardrobe was on point. Alan's closing, they did not do Alan's closing justice at all because I guess they didn't want to use any of his real closing, which was so much better than the closing that they wrote for him to say. And then there's something else that I can't read. Oh, also the actress who played Karen had a duck face a lot of the time. She was doing a lot of this when Karen was sitting like at the defense table when they were doing the closing and stuff. And I've never seen Karen Reed do a duck face ever. And so that just put me a little off. And there were some glow ups. Oh, wait, where's the picture that I had of the Solo Cup earrings? Hold on. Did I close that? Oh, I must have closed it. They nailed it with somebody wearing Solo Cup earrings. Maybe I don't have that picture. And so outside, when they showed some of the supporters during one of the shots, they had somebody wearing Solo Cup earrings, which we know is real. That was on point. Somebody really did have Solo Cup earrings, right? Tell me your favorite parts and the parts that you thought were not so good about the Lifetime movie. Okay, here we go. Right. Proctor Misconduct says they could have given us a little Leslie Scissorhands. Well, they only did it very, very like the last, I don't know how many minutes were on trial number 2. And so there wasn't enough room at the table. They didn't even have enough room at the table to give Liza Little a seat either. So that's interesting. Yeah. So Scott McGinnis is here and he says they crammed the 2 trials into the very end of the movie. Trial 2 got like 4 minutes. Yeah, agreed. Robin J says it was subtly free Karen Reed, in my opinion. I thought so too. I thought it wasn't bad for Karen at all. Paul O'Keefe looked nothing like him, said KBD. Yeah, he had a glow down. And also doofy. Yeah, no Officer Barrows. There was no man shot. They didn't have any experts, I don't think, did they? Salty Sea Glass says it would have been much better as a 2-part movie. Like the OG 80s, 90s Lifetime before LMN and all those channels came along. Yeah, it would have been like trial 1 and then trial 2. They could have done a cliffhanger. I agree. Boston accent failed, said Casey. Missy said Yuri was there too. He went to a restaurant on the second arrest. Went to a restaurant. You mean he went to a restaurant on the second arrest with Proctor. That was Yuri. On her rearrest. Yeah. Nicholas says, why did Paul blow Karen a kiss in the hospital? I don't know, but that is real. That really happened. And a lot of people thought it was like, when he did it, that it was like a mean thing for him to do. But the actor who interpreted it in the movie made it like it was a nice thing for him to do. Like he was really blowing her a kiss. But I remember talking about this during trial number 1. And we did, a lot of people thought that he was doing that in a sarcastic way. But the way that this actor interpreted it, it was like he was blowing a kiss in a nice way. Right? And somebody in all caps, Billy, he doesn't know the rule about all caps, says, did anyone happen to notice Paul O'Keefe blow Karen a kiss in the hospital scene? Yeah, that really happened. What was that all about? Well, it really happened. It really did happen in real life, IRL. So they picked up that part and they went with it. Nobody really knows because we haven't heard from Karen yet about him. That's a question I would ask Karen. Karen, when Paul O'Keefe blew you a kiss in the hospital, how did you interpret that kiss? How did you interpret that? Was it like a sarcastic thing? Because remember, they also in this movie, in the Lifetime movie, after trial number 1, Paul O'Keefe says something to her like, "We're not done with you yet." And he did really say that. He did really say that. Bella Bratt says that's incorrect. Paul testified to a kiss on the way out. I don't care if it was on the way in or the way out. Like I'm saying, the Lifetime movie wasn't 100% accurate. What I'm saying is he actually did blow her a kiss in real life. He blew her a kiss. It doesn't matter to me if it was when he came in or when he came out. I'm not talking about that accuracy. I'm saying that really did happen in real life. There was a kiss blown. I just don't know what he meant by it. Right? And I haven't heard Karen talk about what he meant by it. And in the movie, Bab said in the movie, he hugged her when she came in the house. Paul did? Did that happen? Did I miss that part? Yeah, the clothes they wouldn't let her put on. Right. It's not a documentary. Exactly. It's not a documentary. It is it's a scripted movie about a real thing. Emily said, yeah, in the kitchen, he hugged her. He wasn't mad in real life until she went to Dighton. But did he kiss her in the movie, in the Lifetime movie? I mean, hug her? I knew he blew her a kiss in real life, but I don't know that he hugged her when she really went into the house. Oh, maybe she did. Maybe he did, because didn't they both sit down with the nephew and talk to him together in real life? It's a drama. And then Peg said her line, right. And this is something that I found interesting too. Like if you were watching this Lifetime movie and you knew nothing about the Karen Reed case, right? Because when she walked in, it was like the Peg character said right away to her, it looks to me like he got hit by a car. Right? And that's something that did happen in real life. But before that, in real life, Peg said, "What are you doing here?" And they didn't say that in the movie. So look, we know a lot more details. We know a lot more details than probably the people who even made that movie, right? And so they should have hired one of us to consult on it, because we know everything. We know everything. It looks like he was hit by a car. That's right. It looks like he was hit by a car. Right? Let's go back to the Billy Bush interview, because there's some more parts that I want to play for you. But I need to get there. Where's the... Don't you hate when I rustle my papers in the mic? Sorry, misophonia friends. All right, let's go to 4328. If you haven't seen this, we're going to watch it again together. 43. Here we go. Back to Billy Bush's Billy Bush's interview from yesterday with Alan Jackson's interview with Billy Bush from yesterday. Here we go.
Okay, so Karen Reed, you talk often, right? She has become a friend. You've been through it all together.
Yeah, very good friend.
Where does it stand with her? There was talk that, between the civil trials, the one that's coming against her and the one that she's going after, all those people that were in that house, the McAlberts, as they're known.
All of them.
And the institutions as well.
And
that's even more, it just as important as the individuals is the institutions that objectively just completely failed her, failed the community. So those are big lawsuits.
But there was talk about combining them because it all deals with the same people and the same material. But now one is going to federal court. So there's
procedural issues that lent themselves to removing some of the defendants up to federal court, but it's not going to change the contours of the allegations and the contours of the case ultimately.
So can they combine resources here and make it just one thing? All we want to know.
No, when you've got
the fans, by the way, I'm just going to say, we the fans just want to know who did it. It's not her. That's already been ruled. Who did it? And the O'Keefe's, bless their hearts, are just wasting time. There's just no way, in my opinion, this is not coming from you, that they are going to win this. A criminal trial already said no across the board.
So the procedure.
Okay. Also understand, if you guys did not watch this interview yesterday, is that Billy Bush had Alan Jackson on his show to talk about the Nick Reiner stuff. And the chat started getting mad because he couldn't answer any questions about Nick Reiner. So eventually the conversation, this is like minute 45, turned around to Karen Reed. And that's good because we want to know everything. And obviously Alan can't talk about Nick Reiner because obviously the reason that he had to step away from the case was a reason that he can't talk about. And so he can't talk about it because, ethics and confidentiality and all kinds of things like that. But some people in the chat were getting mad about it. So then it turned to Karen. This is already 45 minutes in. And let's see, he's going to talk about the civil case. He's going to tell us everything.
Procedural niceties of federal court versus state court in Massachusetts. It is such that there's a barrier between them. You can't just combine the two cases because there's different sovereigns. It's literally a different court system. So our hope was, at least at it doesn't really matter to us. We don't really care. It would make it a little more convenient, a little more streamlined, obviously, if it was all in state court. But federal court benefits us in pretty significant ways as well. So we're fine.
Can you give one way? Tell me why federal court is better.
Well, it's not. I don't want to go into the specific details of strategy, but there are federal court rules that benefit us in certain things that we intend to do and propound in terms of our case, discovery issues, as well as evidentiary issues.
And you haven't had the greatest of experiences with the local system and the state system.
Let's
just say
I'm giving I'm going to give grace to the rest of the judges that are in the Massachusetts state system.
So she's got the federal case that she is pursuing, right? Which I love.
Yeah.
Look, you're a lawyer, but to me, as an observer, I'm always stunned when someone just settles, or like, if I'm accused of something horrible and I'm like, here, let's just settle with them. I don't want to go through. They say we don't want to go through the years of trouble. You just had your entire character impugned. Right. I don't know. I would throw everything in the kitchen sink. I like the fact that Karen has turned around and said, yeah, I'm innocent. And what does a really innocent person do?
Yeah,
like fight back.
Right. Which is exactly what that's how she's built. She's not going to.
She's scrappy and she's intelligent.
Yeah.
But she is fighting back and going, okay, let's find out who actually did this. And I admire that.
And show the warts and blemishes from inside the Massachusetts State Police.
We all really want to know who did it. And hopefully the new district attorney, because Michael Morrissey's not running. We covered that at the top of the hour, top of the first hour. And now we're into hour 2. We're now into hour 3, actually. It's not going to be Morrissey. Is the new district attorney going to reopen this case and try and find out who really murdered John O'Keefe? I can't wait to see.
The warts and blemishes inside the system.
That's a big undertaking. That's a big admission. If the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, says
how many officers have been either disciplined from Massachusetts State Police, right? The untouchable, the Massachusetts State Police. Oh my God, they're untouchable. They've been around forever. They're storied. It's a storied agency or department. I don't know if I could tick off on. I couldn't tick off on one hand because it's more than 5. There have been a ton of officers who have either been disciplined, demoted, stripped of their position, or just out and out fired. In the case of Michael Proctor. So yeah, it is a big undertaking, but they can't get out of their own way. We have exposed such a core level of corruption.
And thank you for that, by the way.
Within the Massachusetts State Police, a cancer within the Massachusetts State Police, as has been alleged in the lawsuit, that they're not going to fare well. They're not.
Well, let's list them, shall we? Let's just think of all of the things that have happened. Proctor got fired. Shannon Burgess got fired. He's not law enforcement, but he was involved in this trial. Tully got disciplined so far. Buchanan got disciplined so far. Kevin Albert got disciplined a little teeny weeny bit. DeChico reassigned. Kakowski reassigned. Kelly Dever resigned. David Traub, who was the mouthpiece for the DA's office, resigned. Lynn Beeland retired. She was the second in command to Michael Morrissey. Brian Albert retired. Helena Rafferty was the chief of police at Canton. She retired. Gallagher retired. Berkowitz retired before he left this mortal coil and is now eating at the Endless Heaven buffet. Ken Berkowitz. Marcy is retiring. He's stepping down. Sean Good has also been suspended. Let me count the ways.
Going to fare well at all.
I have spoken to Karen only briefly. I don't know her like you know her. But she spent 3.5 years of her life doing this, and now it's going to be more. She's got a civil trial again against her, and the federal that she's, playing offense. Psyche-wise, like, she's in the prime of her life, right? She was in a relationship. There's the sweet things in life ahead, but this is going to become, in the end, what, like 6-7 years? This is her life defined. Can she handle, how does she take care of herself? Is she in a good headspace to deal with all this?
Can she handle it? Absolutely. Yeah, like you said, Billy, at some point there comes a time when you say, okay, I'm not going to be the victim anymore. I'm not going to be the target anymore. I'm going to go out and start throwing my own haymakers. And that's what she's doing. She's in that mindset. If everybody went away, I don't know that would make her happy. She is a fighter. She wants resolution. And
yes, Chris Albert is not going to run again for Canton Town Select Board. Robert Devine, Matthew Farwell finally is arrested and waiting in federal lockup for his double murder trial against Sandra Birchmore and her baby. So many have fallen, and they retire because if they retire, they get to keep their pensions. Make no mistake about it.
And she has a right to it. She has a right to it. What the Massachusetts State Police did, this investigation that was so broken from the very beginning, that led, in no small part, it led to her having to go through these last 3.5 years that you just mentioned of being targeted and feeling like she was on the back of her heels. She's entitled, and good for her, wanting to fight back and establish what the true facts are. And those true facts are going to be pretty ugly. They've already been pretty ugly. I mean, Jesus.
We know all the facts.
You and she are going to do maybe a project together, right?
We are. That is in the works. Can
she do that while this case is going on, or just talk about other things, or she can talk some things about this because?
No, she can talk about certain things about this. There are certain things that we would probably hold back on a podcast if we were.
She's lucky that her partner doing this will be you. And also her lawyer says, don't do that, don't do this. It's like, you're like the ultimate executive producer.
We've got a built-in safety net. Yeah. But we think that this is an opportunity for, in a very, very unique way, for Karen to talk about the justice system writ large. Like, what does that consist of? She has been the target. I have been the challenger. We have built a teamwork and a network that really has foundation in discussing other cases, the system at large, the justice system, the court system, DA's offices, investigative agencies, things of that nature. And nearly every day, something comes across our feed, something comes across your feed in social media about some injustice that is alleged to have occurred somewhere in this country. We have myriad
look at it right
emails.
now.
I mean, over and
Minneapolis
over and over.
is so ablaze in our country.
So that would be a topic of discussion that I think Karen and I would offer a very unique perspective on. She's got the unique perspective of having been the person who is falsely accused, having been targeted by a behemoth system with unlimited resources and unyielding motivation to try to subjugate her, to try to attack her. And I've had the unique opportunity of being able to defend that person. So when we sit down together, I think us taking the bigger issues, the justice system in America, and really tackling those and dissecting them and peeling the onion back from both of our perspectives, I think it'll be pretty fascinating.
What is going on with the justice system in America? Is it under threat? I mean, I don't know how political you get, but like
I try not to get political.
All right, I'm going to. This is just like a couple more seconds when he starts talking about Aiden. So let's get to that.
It's been going on for years and decades, and it requires. I think social media is a great platform.
Here it is.
Because there's so many opportunities for people to speak out who have had no voice before, so they can get out on social media and make a splash. Look what Aiden did, right? To
Turtle Boy.
Look what Aiden did. Turtle Boy getting his flowers. Here it is.
Yeah, to really shine a hot spotlight on corruption that was right under his nose, that he's actually experienced himself because he shined the spotlight on it.
That's right. They've retaliated against him. He's got a bunch of felonies that he's still facing. He's not free yet. And the total possible sentence for him is almost 100 years.
Now he's being attacked by the very behemoth, by the very 800-pound gorilla that he exposed. How's that fair? Well, that's just.
How is that fair? How is that fair? Preach it, Alan Jackson. Smooth as butter. We have an emoji for Alan Jackson for members. It is smooth as butter. And I started that when we first started covering Pretrial 1. Smooth as butter. He's smooth as butter, Alan Jackson. He's Hollywood. How is that fair that Turtle Boy is being persecuted for exposing the very corruption that led to the persecution of Karen Read? How is that fair?
Just an indicator. That's just a paradigm of a larger problem throughout the country, both on the federal level with the DOJ to state courts and state agencies across the country. And it's high time that someone starts exposing these things. And
high time. I don't know if that was a shout out to Bob Weir, because I don't know if he's the Deadhead, but Billy is a Deadhead. High Time is a Grateful Dead song. It's high time. It is high time.
Pointing a finger and showing some spine and not being afraid because of the amount of exposure social media brings to bear. It does provide a little bit of a safety net. So it's discouraging, but it's an exciting time for exposition to expose some of these ills that have badly needed rectifying for many years.
Hey, Billy and Alan, you brought
Steve.
up.
All right, this is Steve. This is Steve. He's supposed to be monitoring the chat. Steve, call me. I'll give you some pointers on monitoring your chat. When people are trashing your guests, you got to delete those comments. Okay, here he's going to ask questions about Turtle Boy now. Listen.
You brought up Turtle Boy, and I just wanted to, from Ann Dunlap, 1951. She says, "Thank you, Mr. Alan Jackson, for acknowledging Aiden Kearney, and prayers will be set free." You know, saying that it was out there that there was some. Maybe everyone.
There's a lot of turtles. There's a look at.
It was saying
Alan,
maybe everyone
look at
doesn't
all the
get
turtles
along.
in the chat
There's a
section.
lot of
I'm
turtles.
turning my laptop
I like
around
it.
to Alan.
Good.
Look at all the turtles.
And there should be. There should be.
But
Good.
I think they liked hearing.
And there should be. And there should be. Listen, Alan, every single thing that Alan says is planned. You know that. He's told us that. Every single thing that he does is planned. It's scripted. He didn't make a mistake by saying that. He intended to say that. And I'm sure that he had Karen's blessing to say that. And anyone who says otherwise is calling Alan Jackson foolish. And he's the furthest thing from foolish. Okay? So everybody out there better smarten up, wisen up. We're not done here. Okay? We're not done here. Mend the fences. Alan must have had Karen's blessing to say these things about Aiden, or he wouldn't have said them. Let's hear it again.
There's a look at.
It was saying
Alan,
maybe everyone
look at all
doesn't
the
get along.
turtles in the chat
There's a
section.
lot of
I'm
turtles.
turning my laptop
I like
around
it.
to Alan.
Good.
Look
Good.
at all the turtles.
And there should be. There should be.
But
Good.
I think they liked hearing you, Alan, that you're reaching out and saying something about Turtle Boy. I think there's a lot out there that maybe parties on both sides aren't getting along, but they like to hear the nice words that you said.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, where was the first place that Alan Jackson appeared after the trial was over? I think you went. You paid respect, and you spent a Saturday night
Right.
live with him.
Right.
Sure.
He did.
Right. That was by. That was you could have
by
gone
design. I could have picked any
Howie
place I
Carr,
wanted to be.
Boston.
He could have picked any place. He could have picked any place. Could have came to my channel. He didn't. Still can. It was by design. Okay.
Globe, many other people who were all over this. Me,
yeah,
I was asking. You went right to Turtle Boy first.
There's a beauty to groundwork being done by its own community. In other words, when you talked about Minneapolis, there's other communities throughout the country that are suffering at the hands of not just incompetence, but in some cases, just abject corruption. And when you have a grassroots movement from anybody, if anybody can get that started, that has so much power in bringing to light and protecting bringing to light the corruption and protecting the folks who have been the target of the corruption. And by the way, I'm far from it. I'm not saying that all police agencies are bad or all investigators are bad or they always get it wrong.
Right.
But I'm saying they get it wrong a hell of a lot of times. A hell of a lot of the time. And there are
there's
getting
folks, something wrong, and then there's like she did it, and something is blatant, and this woman goes to jail for the rest of her life.
Yeah, and
we
know she didn't do it. And
what?
We're still
You're willing to do that? Your conscience will be okay at night by pinning this because you need a win so badly?
They have no conscience, Billy. You know it. I know it. You're outraged too. Kurt, is it your birthday? Happy birthday, Kurt. Uncivil Law's birthday today. Happy birthday, Kurt. Hope you're having an awesome, awesome day. Blessings, my friend. Blessings. They don't have consciences. They sleep at night. That's incredible. Of course they sleep at night. Because you know why? They don't give a shit.
Every one of those folks, starting with Michael Morrissey.
The DA,
every single one of those folks slept like a baby. And that is tragic. They slept like a baby, knowing full well that they were prosecuting an innocent woman. They damn well did. That is shameful. That is tragic. That there is no more moral compass in the system, especially out there, in the system of justice out there in Massachusetts, than those folks could go home at night and justify their conduct. It's unjustifiable, unacceptable. And that's what we're going to expose in the civil cases.
And we're here for it.
You are not afraid to speak emphatically and call it out. And you did then, and you still do. And boy, these trials, when does that, it seems to be a lull in the action.
All right. And that's it. If you want to go watch the rest of that over on Billy Bush's channel, I highly suggest that you do. Because Alan was telling us everything. And I thought it was and we're here for it. And we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We're not going to shut up. They want us to boy, do they want us to shut up. How many people are really afraid today after all of the things that have happened just over the weekend and yesterday? It's only Tuesday, folks. It's only Tuesday. It is only Tuesday. He can slam Michael Morrissey all he wants now because he's stepping down. He's not running again. And he can't slam the judges too bad because he's still pro hoc vice in the civil case. And so civil cases. And so, he's got to play by the rules. Thank you, the Goodmans. The Goodmans are here, and they've gifted 5 memberships. They're amazing. Brian and Deanna. And they watch me on date night, okay? I don't know. People do. It's crazy. I know it's crazy. Thank you, Danielle Patrick has become a new member. Sarah Grace Patrick's dad. We have to talk. We have a lot of things to talk about, like getting your daughter out of jail. Please call me. Write me. My email's in the show notes. Proctorial Misconduct says they could have given us a little scissor hands. Yep. They didn't. Lucky made it, and he deserved the props. Lucky did make it into the Lifetime movie. Yes. Yes, he did. And that was great. Thanks, Laura. ABC's Docket. Thanks for being here for 8 months. I want to buy one of those snow globes. Did you see the snow globe I made in the thumbnail? It's a snow globe with a solo cup in it. Shake a leg, Sherilyn. Hi, Sherilyn. Says, I just got my pink J-Labs. Thanks for your recommendations. Oh, thank you. Those J-Lab the earbuds are like $25 and they stay charged forever. And if you lose them, it's not going to break your heart because they're not the real ones. But I think they're great. So I'm glad that you like them. I will link them to this stream in case anyone else is in need of earbuds. And thanks for being with me for 16 months. User said, wouldn't Karen Reed have been subject to John's home retention as she may have been classified as common law spouse? No, they do not recognize common law spouses, to my knowledge, in Massachusetts. I don't think it's a thing in the some of the few states that do. I think it's like 7 years. And then you said otherwise. It doesn't make sense why O'Keefe's wanted her out of the pictures. Out of the picture, altogether, is because they were brainwashed very early on by some people with some maybe nefarious motives, in my opinion, maybe. Graham Tam says, Mel, can you in short explain why discovery is so much easier to get in civil versus criminal? Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much for your 10. In civil trials, you don't need permission from the court to get third-party discovery. So if it's relevant in any way, you can get it, and the judge will decide whether it could be admissible at trial, whether it's relevant to be admissible at trial. Therefore, right now, if you've been following the Karen Reed civil case, they've made motions for Proctor's entire download, and they're getting it, subject to an NDA. They can ask for things that are going to be stemming from that, other people's cell phone extractions, and they're going to be entitled to it because the rules of discovery in civil court are very, very broad, as are depositions. You don't have to ask the court. First of all, there's no depositions in Massachusetts in criminal court, but in civil court, all you have to do is subpoena somebody, and they need to show up to give a deposition. And if they want, they can bring a lawyer with them and plead the fifth if they want to, maybe. But all objections are reserved for the time of trial, and nothing really is objectionable in a civil deposition. And so the depositions in this civil case are going to go on for days and forever. And we can't wait because we want to know everything. We want to know everything. If it's relevant, you're entitled to it. You don't need to make a motion like they made all those Rule 17 motions in Karen Reed's criminal trial to try and get Brian Albert's records, Jennifer McCabe's records. That motion went all the way up to the appellate court, which reversed it in part, and they got a little bit of Jennifer McCabe's records, including the Google searches. Civil court is very generous, and we're here for it. Columbo Wannabe says, I was on vacation last week. I had attorney Melanie Little withdrawal. The nice woman who works at the front desk was from Massachusetts, of course. Karen Reed trial came up. She's a cupcake too and a Turtle Boy watcher. Where were you? Can you just tell me where you were? It happened to me when I was in Hilton Head. When I was in Hilton Head, at an undisclosed location, which now I'm going to tell you was Hilton Head, I got a knock on my door from room service, and they said, hi, we hear it's your birthday. And I said, it's not my birthday. And there was like a giant cupcake and some chocolate covered strawberries, and a note from someone who said, we're so happy that you're here. I love your show. And it was from a woman named Paulette. Paulette, if you're here, thank you. Who is also a cupcake. So I had to go find Paulette and thank her because initially I thought maybe somebody was like it was nefarious, but it wasn't. And I met Paulette and she's amazing. So tell me where you were on vacation that this happened, because that's wild. If it was at Hilton Head, it would have been the same place. And that's crazy. Happy birthday, Kurt. And Kurt on Civil Law, thank you for your 10. Says, I also want to brag a little, if you will forgive me. I hit my 1,000 pound combined powerlifting goal, 355 pound squat, 300 pound bench, and 345 pound deadlift. I'm going to keep going, Kurt. Congratulations. That is awesome. Now, listen, here's the thing. Every day we draw a card from this deck. It's called Affirmations for a Badass right there. And the one we pulled on the earlier stream today when we covered Kelsey Fitzsimmons' hearing is very relevant to exactly what you're saying right now. And here's what it was. Stop making excuses and just start the effing thing. Stop making excuses and just start the effing thing. So congratulations on your journey. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. Everyone give Kurt some props. And there it is. We pulled this earlier, right? Isn't that so crazy? Come and knock on my door. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. I was like, somebody's trolling me. It was crazy. I know that was crazy, Deanne. It was crazy. I'll come back and read the chat. So I'm not sure where you were on vacation because I'm going to have to scroll back and try and find it. That's crazy. So congratulations, Kurt, and happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, uncivil. Happy birthday to you. And Widow Bailey says, Widow Bailey, we all need to be a turtle boy for Turtle Boy. He needs all of us now. He does. We're here for it. I'm here for it. My loyalty to the Karen Reed causes and to the Aidan Carney causes and to the Sarah Grace Patricks of the world is not going to waver ever, because I'm here for justice. And you should all be here for justice. And you should all be here and believe that every criminal defendant in our country is innocent until if and when proven guilty. And if you weren't here yesterday when we watched the openings on the Paul Canero case in New Jersey, the defense attorney at the end of her opening said something really amazing. She said something really amazing. She said, I know you're all sitting here thinking, how can I defend this? What am I going to do to defend this? You know, and then she said, I'm here to defend this man is what I'm here to do. And then obviously they're pointing the finger at the other brother. But she told a really great story at the end of her opening. And I suggest that you go watch it, because I think that everybody sitting on the jury that heard that story that she told might have had a little bit of a reset. I'm not going to tell it to you now. I'm going to make you go watch it. And then I'm going to make you hit thumbs up on the stream. But if you did watch it, the Jersey Girl openings yesterday, 2 Jersey Girls, it was amazing. Let me know if that made you do a little reset about the judge excusing some of those jurors by asking them whether or not the man sitting in that chair was guilty or innocent. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Thank you, Robin J. And Rachel said, I'm wearing my J Labs and they are so much better than headphones. I know, so much better. Oh, Linda Kenny Bodden said that her sources are telling her that he's innocent, Paul Cafaro? Really? Because I'm going to Cancun next week, I can't cover the whole trial, gavel to gavel. And I haven't even caught up on any of the testimony. And if you know any source that is doing like news articles on summarizing all of the testimony, please let me know. Thank you. Ashton Sugar says that this is another great stream by Melanie. Thank you, Megan. But I think I just played this clip. I played David Yanetti's clip at the beginning of the stream. So if you weren't here, I already played this, but thank you for sending it to me. David Yanetti commented on Michael Morrissey's not running again we covered that at the beginning of the stream. And okay, Tiff, I don't know when this is exactly from, so I want to watch it first before I talk about it. Oh, thank you to the viewer who sent me Bob Weir's obituary from the Times. I appreciate that. I'll take a look at that later. All right, so this was from what? All right, 16 minutes ago. Hang on one second. All right. Nick Rocco said almost an hour ago, Alan and Karen were on Let's Talk Off Camera with Kelly Ripa earlier today. I believe it will be posted on her YouTube tomorrow as well, on Kelly Ripa's YouTube. All right, that's interesting. That's cool. I want to hear all of it. I want to hear all of it. I want to hear Karen talking about everything. Thank you very much, Ashton Sugar. And to all of you who have sent me emails during the stream, thank you. I can't respond to them. There's no way I ever could, but I do read them. All right, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns before you wrap this one for the day. This is our second banger of the day. I appreciate you so much. What's today? Tuesday. All right. Appreciate you so. I love you with all my heart. If I don't see you soon, I'm going to die. I haven't decided what to talk about tomorrow, but there's a couple things I would like to catch up on with you, including a case from Arkansas that has really outraged me, including perhaps the Ohio couple. Thank you, Widow Bailey, for becoming a new member. I think you're going to like it here. Yeah, Tiffany, I got it, but I can't go over it right now. I don't have time for it. I don't have time to do the what court filing. I don't know what that was. I know that Tully has asked for extra time to file his answer in the federal case of Karen Reed versus everyone. It's been granted. Nothing really that exciting. But I gotta go. I gotta go right now. But there's an emergency hearing. Wait, hang on a second. This is an Aiden versus Lindsay Gattani, plaintiff and defendant's joint emergency motion to continue the hearing scheduled for January 15th. So there was supposed to be a hearing on January 15th in the Aiden versus Lindsay case. It says the plaintiff and defendant are working cooperatively on a settlement agreement and request additional time to continue efforts towards resolution. And they jointly requested that hearing for the 15th be adjourned. And I'm assuming, since everyone agreed, I'm assuming the court's going to allow it. Thanks, Tiff. So I will catch up on that later and I will let you know. Thank you all so much for spending so much of your day with me today. I really, I know that you have so many places that you can get your coverage from, and I am so grateful to each and every one of you who chooses to spend so much of your time with me. Mama of a Medic says that Paul Canero case is getting interesting. All right. Email me, like, if there's certain witnesses you think that we should watch together, that we should. I don't know how long that trial is supposed to be. I don't know if it's going to be done by the time I go to Cancun. I don't want to leave you hanging in the middle of a trial. That's the problem. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. Know what I'm saying? So thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you to the moderators, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this every day as much as we do, because there's a lot of haters out there. But I love you guys so much. My mother is telling me that Alan Jackson is on CBS right now. CBS New York, CBS? I'm going to have to go find it because I can't pull that up for you right now. Unless it's live on YouTube. Hold, please. Look at my mother. Getting it done. Let's see. CBS New York? Well, because we're in New York, so CBS 2 News New York. Let's see. Are they streaming it live? I don't know. Maybe they'll clip it and put it up on YouTube and we'll have something to watch tomorrow. If you're in New York, put on CBS. Thanks, Ma. Love you, Ma. She's so into it. All right, I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not sure just what we're going to talk about yet. I gotta prepare. I gotta prepare because you know what? My night is never over. Welcome, Nicole. I think you're going to like it here. I love you all. I will see you real soon. Please do everything that YouTube likes. Share the stream out. Hit the like button. Comment respectfully. The commenting helps the algorithm after the show is over. Tell your friends. Get more people. Subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure that your notifications are set. Because sometimes I just go live. Like today, I went live 10 minutes. I set my stream 10 minutes before we went live on Kelsey Fitzsimmons because I didn't know if we were going to have a good feed or not. And so that's what we do here. That's what we do. If you didn't get a reminder tonight, maybe you don't have your notifications set. You know, that's the thing. Make sure they're set. YouTube has been unsubscribing people. It's weird. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. And remember, here's the other badass affirmation that we say every single day. We try and stay above the fray and above the drama and above the hatred and the vitriol. We try. And this is a card that we pulled a couple days ago, and I'm going to say it every day and on every stream. Winners focus on winning. Losers focus on winners. Do you need to hear that again? Winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. You're welcome. You're welcome. I love you with all my heart. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.